d'argent, représentant Cuba.
The silver medalist, representing Cuba, Julius Gonzalez.
Médaille de bronze représentant le Japon et l'Australie.
The bronze medalists representing Japan, Ki Kusakabe. And representing Australia, Maria Peckley.
Mesdames, Mesdemoiselles, Messieurs, veuillez vous lever pour l'hymne national d'Espagne.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the national anthem of Spain.
Into the straight he goes, into the back straight, and Elliott is striding away from the field, making the thing look ridiculously and ludicrously easy, keeping his form absolutely perfectly. He's got a lead of about 8 or 9 yards, and Yazi of France has come past Rosavoggi. He's going to be in second place. Elliott has got 200 yards to go. He's got a lead of 10 yards over Yazi of France, Rosavoggi third, and the Romanian in fourth place. And here comes Vaughan again. And here comes Elliott into the straight. 100 yards to go, and this magnificent Australian not flinching in any way, still keeping his form, punching with his arms, looking easy and graceful. A lead of 15 yards over Yazi of France, and Elliott has 10 yards to go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 now, and Elliott has won from Yazi and Rosavoggi.
Set, beautiful start. Those on the right, Ferrell, Bales and Tyres are hitting them up, and Lemmy, Boyle and Kirstenstein on the left. Raylene Boyle is running in beautiful stride, so too is Jenny Lemmy. They hit the straight any moment from now, and the two Australian girls are doing very, very well indeed. There could be a big upset here. It could be a gold medal for Australia. Look at Raylene Boyle taking it away from Jenny Lemmy. The threat comes from Kirstenstein of Poland. Can Raylene Boyle get up there and hold off the world record holder? No, Irina Kirstenstein wins, and I think the Australian girl, Raylene Boyle, got second. Anyhow, Australia did get a sprint medal.
That's it. And away, and Boyle got away all right. And I'm leading out from Heineck. Stecker going very fast in the early stages. Boyle's coming through quickly too, gathering him in on the turn, followed by Stroopal and Allwood into the straight now. And it's Stecker in front on the outside. And Boyle coming up the challenge now with 70 metres to go. Stecker's a metre in front of Boyle. Boyle throwing out the challenge. It's Stecker and Boyle. Stecker in front of Boyle. It's Stecker holding Boyle. Boyle coming hard at the finish, but I think Stecker just got there. Yes, Stecker first, Boyle second. Very close for third between Stroopal and Tawinska.
Oh dear, it was so close. 22.4.
And more gold, in fact, at Qingdao. Australia has won the 470 men's class. Nathan Wilmot and Malcolm Page, 5 times world champions together. Now they've got Olympic gold, so they've dominated this event in Beijing, and a fantastic performance. So gold to Nathan Wilmot and Malcolm Page in the men's.
For exclusive access to extraordinary people, stream great chats on ABC iView.
I wanted to meet you for so long.
Yeah, me too.
With intimate interviews from Louis Theroux and ABC of.
Have you said anything that you've regretted?
Emotional insights on Take 5 with Zan Rowe.
How old were you when your father died?
And probing questions in Stuff the British Stole.
How on earth did you find this?
Great chats and fascinating facts whenever you like. Stream it all for free on ABC iView.
ABC Sport. AFL.
What a stage. This game is coming to life.
The 2023 AFL Premiership season.
The roar will tell you the story. Fans are on their feet. Can't believe what they're about to see. Holds his arms out wide and tells them to get excited.
What a game. It's got everything. It's like Grease Lightning. It's so cool.
On the run. It's happening again. It's a whole new game.
Cause here it comes, here it comes.
With a talk from 55. Hello. That is the cream on the cake.
Sometimes you've just got to sit back and enjoy the show.
And we have a thriller. To Goey, chest down, goal.
Goes for home. He's got it. Phenomenal finish.
Fires, goals, brilliant.
The 2023 AFL Premiership season.
Kick towards the pocket. Oh, beautiful play at Marks and Danaher.
From 51 metres out goes bang. That is some sort of finish.
On towards Hawkins. Gathers and goals.
Charging through 50 to finish. He does.
Unguarded goal square. He's got it. This is just getting good at the G.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio.
Sport Digital.
And now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the AFL button.
Something big is coming, I know.
Sydney and St Kilda meet for their 8th annual Pride Game. It's an event to celebrate diversity and inclusion at the footy, and very much an occasion in its own right. But the man who could steal the show, as he has done for the better part of 2 decades, Lance Buddy Franklin, plays game number 350 as the Swans welcome the Saints to the Sydney Cricket Ground. And we welcome you to a new round, round 13 on Grandstand AFL. My name is Brett Sprigg. Both teams coming off the bye as well. Sydney had back-to-back wins before that, while the Saints have had a somewhat patchy form line. They've not had consecutive victories since round 4. They're still 5th and would see tonight as an opportunity very much to push their top 4 claims under cloudy skies in the Harbour City. Great to welcome Corbin Middlemass back to Sydney as well to call the action alongside me. Hello, Corbin.
Hey, Spriggy. Nice to be in the Harbour City back here at the SCG. As you said, a little wet earlier, but fined up beautifully for Thursday night footy. First time since Gather Round we've had Thursday night on the schedule. And just on what it means for St Kilda tonight, it feels like an enormous evening for them. So under Brett Ratton last year, they were 8-3 going out. They were 3-8 coming home. And when they were precariously placed at 8-5, they came to Sydney to play the Swans, got smashed. Bottom fell out of the season. We know the rest. Coach departed. All of a sudden, they find themselves at 7-4. Big time spot. Rested after the bye. Play a Sydney team without Parker and Mills. You're not going to get too many better opportunities than to come to Sydney and beat the home team. So huge night for the Saints.
Early start tonight too, by the way. So the opening bounce is around about 6 minutes away, 7:10 local time. The team news here, no late changes. The big cheer just then you heard was for Dane Rampy. He's a big inclusion for the home side just as well because the other 2 co-captains are out. Callum Mills injured and Luke Parker suspended. But Dane Rampy back from a neck injury, plays his first game since round 4. Angus Sheldrick is also back in. Lockie McAndrew is omitted, as is last week's sub Corey Warner. This week Joel Amati is their 23rd man. While for St Kilda, they lose Hunter Clark with a knee injury. Ben Patton omitted, and Cooper Sharman, just as he was last game before the bye, is their sub. They welcome back Mitch Owens and Marcus Windhager as well, the Saints, tonight. Your texts are welcome throughout the night, by the way, 0437 774 774. That's 0437 774 774. Our experts are firstly Premiership Swan Ty Kennelly. Welcome, Ty.
Yeah, great to be here. Like you said, Thursday night, I've missed it. Thursday night football. It's something that I've really enjoyed having on the radar now. Thursday night football, and I miss when it's not there. It really shortens the week for me.
More fun at home though, isn't it? When you get comfy, is that what you?
With the Guinness in my hand. Are we going to go that line again? Are we stereotypical Guinness after eating my spuds? And is that what the angle we're walking at?
Save the Guinness for a few hours' time. Former Swan and Blue Jason Saddington. Welcome, Sado.
Thanks, Spriggy. Good to be here with Tig and Corbin. And I agree, Thursday night footy, I think this should stay, and I think it should be a regular fixture every single round. I'm all for it.
I think it will be going forward. So that's part of the next broadcast deal, which kicks in a couple of years' time, that we expect Thursday nights will be a regular part of the program throughout the season going forward. But yeah, as Corbin said, the first time for a couple of months. Just on the Saints, and both teams are out there warming up, of course. The opening bounce just 5 minutes away here, and the crowd's still filing in. But Max King is one, and just as well Dane Rampy is back, because Max King has caused headaches. He only came back in a couple of weeks ago, played that game against the Giants, kicked 4, and then, of course, the most recent outing against Hawthorn, which was a 10-point loss, kicked 4 then as well. 8 goals in 2 games. Huge inclusion for the Saints the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, both of them are obviously big inclusions for both sets of teams, but for mine, it's going to go back to the fact that St Kilda have now had 2 weeks off. They're the number 1 defensive team in the competition, and Ross will go to town on what happened against Hawthorn. The last 3 minutes, they conceded 3 goals. That won't happen. You'd think it's going to be a low-scoring game, that they're number 1 defensive team in the comp. That's what got St Kilda the wins early in the season. He did mention in a press conference on Wednesday was around that they got the runs on the board early in the season and they went away from it the way they played their football, St Kilda. But a bloke like Max King here at the SCG is very dangerous, and we've often talked about playing at the SCG as a key forward. You can get lost whether you're too deep and it's a pretty short 50 from the square, or you're getting too high. You need to play that key forward as a 30-metre out, and Rampy obviously be the one that you think. Having said that, Melican did play well.
Melican, yep.
Yeah, I'm with you, Tom. I mean, King's a huge player for the Saints, but what I like about the Saints as well is the smalls that go around them. Gresham, Higgins, great goal kickers, and I think they add a real dynamic forward line to the Saints. Rampy, huge in, absolutely, no doubt about that. But Parker is an even huger out, I think, for the Swans in terms of the midfield setup. With Mills not playing, he hasn't played for a number of weeks. Take Parker out, it's a watered down midfield tie for the Swans up against a pretty good midfield, the Saints, with Jack Steele, Crouch. I think that's where the game hangs in the balance here.
Yeah, it is, and I think you're bang on there. That last week or 2 weeks ago, you saw Sydney put Isaac Heaney in the midfield, and he had a fantastic game. Wasn't quite working for him as a forward this year. I think the supply obviously was a bit of an issue, but fixed up a bit of the clearance differential last week. And Parker was the one against North Melbourne that won the game for Sydney. He really got him across the line. So that's a huge gap, and how are they going to fill it? They'll obviously rotate. I think they became too predictable, Sydney, with who was playing in the midfield, and that's why obviously they're putting Heaney in there, and Parker's certainly a big loss for him.
St Kilda's recent history here, by the way. So the Swans have won 13 of their past 15 games against St Kilda all up, which goes back to 2012. But the Saints have lost 7 in a row at the SCG. Their last win here was round 18, 2009. The new Richmond coach, Andrew McQualter, kicked 2 goals that day, nearly 15 years ago now. So a recent form in Sydney, a lot to be desired for St Kilda. A word on Buddy. As his 350th, he's a player which has sort of transcended generations as a modern-day superstar. It's his last big milestone, let's face it. And he is, by the way, only 1 goal shy of being 4th outright all-time, so 1,058 to catch Doug Wade and be on that top 4. Buddy Franklin and his impact in Sydney.
Huge impact in Sydney. I mean, obviously on field, his football's been outstanding since he's been here at the Swans. But I think, more importantly, Tom Harley and John Longmire spoke about it during the week, is the impact someone like Lance Franklin has had for football in this city, to inspire young people to come and play the game, to come and watch him, to get excited about footy and then be inspired to go and play AFL football. That's the bit that you can't measure. He's been a huge part of the growth of football here in New South Wales, in particular Sydney.
Yeah, he's inspired so many people in the state of New South Wales, and I'm not too sure which commentator said it, but he's a Dunstall, Dacos and Ablett all together, and that's exactly what he can do. He can do all 3 at their best, and I just think sit back, people, watch, listen to what we're going to call, because we're not going to see much more of one of the all-time greats of the competition that ever played a game, and it's after a privilege to watch him play, and I'll certainly be glued to him tonight.
Toss won by Jack Steele, by the way. So St Kilda will kick to the Paddington or northern end of the Sydney Cricket Ground, where Daniel Garb is positioned on the boundary for us tonight. Hello, Garby, what's it like down there?
Good evening to you, Brad. It's lovely. I mean, it rained today in Sydney, but it's cleared up nicely now. 15 degrees, no winds, no rain. Perfect night for football, and a nice atmosphere as well. The annual Pride game always delivers that. So much fun and fervour outside the ground that fans walk in pretty pumped. Some notable faces around as well. Eric Banner, the Hollywood superstar, has been seen at the SCG. Stewie Lowe, the St Kilda legend, he's sitting not too far away from me at the moment. The subs tonight, Joel Amati, he hasn't played since round 5. He's a sub for the Swans, and Cooper Sharman for the Saints. So a couple of key position subs for their respective sides tonight.
Thank you, Garby. We'll check in throughout the game. Players in position, crowd still filing in. Thursday night footy is back. It's the Pride game. More than pride to play for these two sides. Getting us underway on Grandstand AFL, here's Corbin Middlemass.
And it's Tom Hickey and Rowan Marshall who look at each other on the opposite side of the centre circle as the yellow Sharon whacked into the turf. Marshall wins the first hit out. No clean pick-up. Gresham burrows in to extract it for the Saints. His hand pass comes back to him. Tackled by Rowbottom. Ball slips out to Gresham a third time. Got it to Steele, away to Burns. Hand pass to Webster. Trickles a kick forward. Rowbottom in there for the Swans. Hand pass out to Hayward. Still on the outer edge of the centre square. Kick Sydney forward to Franklin. It's over his head. Wilkie's direct opponent drops the mark but mops up. Hand pass to Sinclair and the switch on out to Wangadine Millera on the back flank.
And he goes to the eastern side of the SCG. Looks for a marking target. Finds the chest of Mason Wood. In front of the O'Reilly stand, lays off the hand pass. The Saints go forward again through Seb Ross. High towards half forward this time. Strong grab taken by Mitch Owens. Plays on quickly with a hand pass. They go inside 50, but whistle on play. We'll come back here for a shove, a push on direct opponent down there at Mitch Owens, and it will go the way of Nick Blakey, who, by the way, signed, he now has a contract till 2031, so another 8 years, 8-year deal, the longest current deal in the AFL. The Swans off half back.
Sounds like Tigers ABC contract.
Finds Warner, who kicks down the wing. Heaney made a bad kick look good, cleans it up, hands it to Patley, and he goes back to Blakey. He'll test out his bung ankle as he runs back, collects in the defensive 50 and swings a kick to Francis. Top of the defensive goal square. That's a dangerous ball to a 2-on-1. McInerney had a lot to do. He forces it down to the run of Florent, kicks down the wing, turns it over. And there's Cal Wilkie playing game number 97. All of them in a row from debut. Looks for Burns. Didn't quite put enough on the kick. Poor turnover. Florent for Sydney. Hand pass away to McInerney to Buddy. Back to Florent. He's under the pump. Hand pass coughs it up. Here's Fox for the Swans. Handball away to Cunningham on the back flank.
Rebounds toward the members' wing. Up to a 3-on-2. Strong grab taken. McLean just forward of the wing. They search forward in red and white jumpers. Still no score in the opening couple of minutes here at the SCG on Thursday night. Short kick to McInerney. Wingman has it just behind right half forward. Comes in for Cunningham, not 15. Play on. He retreats all the way back to Robbie Fox on the logo broadcast side. Tries to switch even further back here towards Francis at centre half back. Pressure comes late in there from Max King. We'll go toward the other side again as Rampy on his return. A short kick to find Lloyd.
Defensive side of the logo. Swings a hand pass out to Rampy. Still eastern side. Short kick. Trying to get it down to Hayward. He's under the pump as soon as he collects. Tackled immediately. Ball doesn't come out. The ump says, I'll have it.
Poor skill execution for Sydney. 3 of the 4 kicks they actually had switching open side of the ground. Missing targets. Very basic stuff.
And they are looking to be quite patient as they build the ball up through the back half.
No late change, no score other way through the first couple of minutes. No clean takeaway. Rowbottom soccers it away to Goulden on his backside. Got a hand pass out to Hickey for Sydney. Handball to Heaney. He's under the pump. Hand pass goes back. Miss Cunningham. Lloyd mops it up. Another touch for the Swans. Hand pass to Rampy. Hooks a kick across the body down to half forward. McLean competes, no mark. Hill at the back. Hand pass away to Battle, who just kicks it out of the dangerous area.
Up in the air, Lloyd and Owens get tangled up at ground level. It's Cunningham that ricochets off him and over for a throw-in between wing and half forward at St Kilda's attacking end. Still no score in the opening 3.5 minutes.
A couple of get out of jail almost moments early for the Swans. You know, their skill execution, like you mentioned, Tig, hasn't quite been on, but they are prepared to be patient in the back half and try and build it up. They do want to hit these targets.
Back in it comes Hickey and Marshall going to Chad Warner off to Rowbottom. Tumbles a kick towards half forward here for the Swans. Finds the chest of Patley. He's 55 out. This will test his distance. The goal square is vacant. He comes across the paint of 50 to find McInerney. And he'll mark top of the arc 50 out. Pops it down the corridor. And on his lead of Goulden. Not 15, play on, says the umpire. Pressure from Sinclair comes late. Goulden snaps on his left boot. Goes toward the top of the square now, and it's stopped away by Doodle Howard out for a throw-in deep at right full forward for the Swans at the Randwick end. Still no score after 4 minutes.
Have we got our rule of the round?
Yeah.
I feel like we've had a couple early.
Yep.
Not 15.
Yeah, bang on.
One against the Swans, one against the Saints. We're only 4 minutes in. Boundary throw-in. Marshall wins it down to Burns of the Saints. Hand pass away to Wood. Kicks out of the defensive arc. They all compete at half-back for the Saints. Spills through to King. His hand pass, a turnover. Fox for Sydney. Handball to Hickey. Gives it to Florent. High half forward. Kicks inside the forward 50. Bouncing footy, but he's got it, but he's out of bounds. Throw-in. 25 out from the Swans goal. Kicking to the Randwick end of the opening turn.
Just watching Blakey. He's very gingery, Garby.
Daniel Garb on the boundary.
It's a serious limp on Nick Blakey. Lewis Melican on for him, and Blakey getting some help now from the trainers. That's a worry for the Swans.
Back in it comes. Burns wrapped up by Heaney. The umpire says, give it to me. Inside forward 50. In fact, it's going to be a free kick for in the back. Going the way of Ryan Burns.
Tiger, we've been seeing the Swans went inside 50 earlier. They're just looking to short pass a little bit more, not blaze away.
And on from full-back to Webster. Sorry, Tig. Loose hand pass here for Ross. Runs onto it now. Back edge of the square. Looks for an option on that preferred left side. Comes up the outer side and spots up Marshall. Pressure comes from Fox at the drop. Bradley Hill. Hand pass off to Wood. The Saints go inside 50 again. High towards full forward. King gets the jump. Not quite enough. Ricochets at the back and popped through by Filippo. He's got the first for St Kilda. With the first 6 minutes, the Saints are 1 straight 6. Sydney yet to score here on Grandstand AFL to start round 13.
And 3 of those inside 50s, Jason, have gone to Franklin of St Kilda, got a link to the ground. But Sydney be very disappointed. Would just give up an easy goal for the first inside 50 for the game with St Kilda.
And it'll be interesting to see the two different styles. If the Swans are going to maintain this more short pass, work the ball around, try and get inside 50 with some hit-ups, as opposed to St Kilda, who perhaps might be more, once we get in that front half, let's get it direct to King, get it to Phillip, who flew for that mark and also crumbed his own ball. Might be some different styles we see pop up tonight as they head inside 50.
Mateus Filippo was born December 27, 2004. Exactly 3 months later, Lance Franklin made his debut, March 27, 2005. He was 3 months old. And Buddy plays his 350th tonight. Mateus with the first goal of the game. Back in the middle, Ross soccers it to centre half forward. Hill hits up for the Saints. He's tackled straight away. Pack forms around him. Ump says, play on. Comes out the back door. Campbell got it from Papley. Hand pass to Florent off centre half back. Kicks in the Franklin direction out in front of him. In a tangle with Wilkie. Up says play on. Wilkie grabs the footy. He's tackled. Sheldrick takes him to ground and a ball up centre half forward for the Swans. 1 straight St Kilda. Sydney yet to score. No late change. 7 minutes in. Thursday night footy to start round 13.
Ball in the air. Marshall looking for Ross. Goulden searching forward as well. Socked forward by Rowbottom. Out there as well. Wicks tumbles at the advantage here for the Swans. Pressure comes from Battle as well as Goulden in the contest as well. Sinclair the hand pass. It was clean. They rebound through Windhager. Kick goes into the back of Robbie Fox. Still alive here at left half forward for Sydney. Melican fires the hand pass through here. Sheldrick to Lloyd. Pushed off the kick by Marshall. Play on, says the umpire. Off half forward again. Clark tries again. So does Florent. Pressure again comes from Sinclair. Loose ball on the wing now. Going in hard. Ross. Tunneled out here towards Jake Lloyd. Only as far here as Robbie Fox. His kick goes straight to Heaney about 5 metres away, and he's wrapped up here immediately down there by Mason Wood. The umpire says we'll ball it up on the wing. Yeah, just a bit dewy, and Sydney overused the ball. I think Melican was the one probably could have got it inside 50 for Sydney.
I think it'd be good conditions for him, Todd.
Yes, that's right.
Comes down to Rowbottom. Rowbottom drives it deep to the top of the goal square. Ball skids through. Wilkie, the goal-saving effort on the line, just touches it. Gee, hit the goal square and almost slid straight past the St Kilda defender, Wilkie. An ultimate goal-saving touch on the line. First score for Sydney. It's a minor one. 8 minutes in.
Sorry, Corbs. You know what I love about footy? You can do what you want to protect someone on the goal line. But he's just blatantly pushed him in the back. Anywhere else in the ground, it's a free kick.
Wilkie comes beyond defensive 50. Owens couldn't get it down here clean overhead. Pressure from Rampy, got a hand over his shoulder. Gives away the free kick here for St Kilda ball at left half back. Daniel Garb on the boundary.
Nick Blakey's taken his pride sock off and his boot. He's had his ankles strapped. He's done some runs up and down the boundary line. He's going to come back on, but he was shaking his head. He doesn't seem convinced that his ankle's okay, but he's going to give it a go.
St Kilda 1 straight 6. Sydney yet to score through the first 8.5 minutes here in Sydney. Manganine Miller off half back. Finds a loose man there. Strong grab from Windhager back in the side this week.
One of the two inclusions, along with Owens, lays a hand pass back to Wanganeen Miller, flares it further wide to Burns, jumps back on the right peg, kicks to half forward, King's down there, flying at it though, Filippo got hands to the footy, no mark. Leaving it behind the Saints, Fox collects, hand pass to Heaney, handball into the defensive arc for Cunningham, just a surge kick up into the centre square, Papley camped underneath it, Webster spoils, Rowbottom clean, passing through, keeps it in front of him, kicks in hope to half forward, there's no one down there. And Wilkie, after a few fumbles, will gather. Now in the back pocket, goes short to Stocker. St Kilda by 6. In fact, it's St Kilda by 5, so our scoreboard 1 behind. But it's 1 straight to 1 behind at 9.5 in.
Former Blue Stocker comes to the broadcast swing, and it's fumbled by Fox over the boundary line for a throw-in.
We are behind short, aren't we? The Wilkie rush one and
yes.
Rowbottom's long range.
Well, according to... Yeah.
Yep. So it should be 1 straight to 1 behind.
obviously there's at least one score correct, but all our official scores here say
Unless they did pay a push in the back. They didn't, did they?
I don't think so. He played on. So anyway, hand pass from Burns goes straight to Warner. Swans comes around the football here. Campbell just thumps it clear towards half forward here now for Sydney. Inside 50, it skids a little too deep for Franklin. Picked up by Wilkie. Off to Dougal Howard, and they'll switch toward the outer side here, the Saints.
So long kick out to the wing. In the box seat is Fox. Can't complete the mark. They've got a hand pass away for Sydney to Cunningham. Sweeping handball out wide to Florent. Weighted hand pass to Francis. They work it up over halfway. Handball misses Lloyd. Skids out of bounds between wing and half forward for Sydney. St Kilda predominantly or in their usual strip, so they've got the red, white and black columns on with the black shorts, and they've got the rainbow socks for the Pride game. And for Sydney, a little bit of a change. No outline of the Opera House. It's, of course, the Pride game, so they've got the rainbow V's making up their jumper, but still predominantly red and white with the red shorts.
Warner goes to extract. It was beaten by Windhager. Hand pass loose out to the wing now. Hickey on hands and knees, slaps it forward for Haney. Getting there though for the Saints, and again just not quite retrieving it. Mason Wood still alive here for the Swans. They go high inside forward 50. Getting back, Mark was dropped by Dougal Howard back with the flight. Needs some support now. Dispossessed by Papley. Tunneled it out there. Correct disposal, but the umpire said play on. Webster can clear now. A hurried kick toward the wing. We'll come back here for a whistle. And again, a push in the back going the way of St Kilda and Gresham. Will now hand it back off to his teammate in Caminiti. And Gresham sends his kick up the wing. Max King gets separation on Florent. Marks it right half forward, 70 out.
It's a bit of a mismatch there, and Max King takes advantage of it. Kicks inside 50. Francis touched it on the way through. Higgins went to ground, wanted a free, didn't get it. Big chase down tackle on Campbell. Ball spits out. The ump says, free kick. It's going Braden Campbell's way.
Yeah, I think he's tackled on the ball, but it's very fumbly, isn't it? Both sets of teams are not clean with the ball, and the team that adapts quicker, you'd think would hit the scoreboard. Sydney been very fumbly from mine, dropped marks, just not being clean whatsoever.
Campbell goes out wide to Rampy, back from that net complaint, and he retreats back at the top of the defensive goal square for Francis, and a short kick to Campbell. So all scoreboards still showing St Kilda one straight. Sydney yet to score, despite that long-range effort from Rowbottom that was helped through. 12 minutes in, Campbell long to a one-on-one. Heaney up over Steele, wins it, kicks for Franklin, bounces straight off his chest. Had a play on it, no mark. Wilkie to Howard, hand pass to Webster, goes wide, and Steele on the back flank for St Kilda.
Short kick to Bradley Hill, plays on now, comes back inboard now, got a couple of targets. Gresham at Florent comes across, second bite reels it in. And the Swans can start again from left half back. Shanks the kick though. Good Clark under pressure. Knocked away here for Jake Lloyd. Kick was partly smothered. Bounces out here towards Steele of the Saints. Their skipper. It's a hand pass right up in the air. Fox was run down from behind. And again, the umpire ball up in front of the O'Reilly stand on the eastern side of the SCG, which has secured a one straight 6. Sydney yet to score. 13 gone in. I'm saying 6-0. That's definitive. 13 gone in the opening term.
This is a fascinating duel, the Wilkie-Buddy one. Buddy's been out a few times.
Yeah.
The Swans have missed the kick and he's dropped the chest mark. Wilkie's found plenty of the ball, but Buddy is actually looking dangerous if they can just get their execution right.
In the stoppage, Heaney took on the tackler, but there was a free kick before that for a ruck infringement, and big Roland Marshall's going to get it. 13 minutes in, St Kilda one straight, Sydney yet to score. Marshall to a contest at half forward, skims off the knuckles of Melican, though to the advantage of Rampy under pressure back pocket, kicks to half back, straight to Crouch. Lands in his lap, man on the mark stands on the blue paint for the 50. Crouch kicks to centre half forward, 4 Swans converge on.
Shocking decision.
Yeah, dangerous part of the ground to turn the ball over.
And off one step.
Wicks takes the intercept mark, swings it out wide to Florent, who's got it half back for Sydney.
Two-time fairest and best winner. Short kick to Sheldrick, who slides in. Marks it left half back. A little more distance this time from Sheldrick to his fellow West Aussie and Warner. Strikes the tackle of Steele. It was that back mark paid. Umpire reminding Jack Steele of that. So Warner won't win 50. Plays on though. Kicks for distance, high inside 50, long to the hot spot, looking for Franklin, who's outnumbered. At the back there is Wilkie. Support comes in attack by Hickey. Lays the big tackle on Wilkie, brings him down. The umpire will ball up at left, full forward, right in the pocket for Sydney at the round weekend. It's St Kilda one straight 6. The Swans are yet to score. 14 gone here in the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
The Swans certainly having the majority of play. They just can't execute here and get on the scoreboard.
Marshall wins the hit out, down towards Battle. Hand pass to Sinclair, running out of room, gives it to Wilkie. Kick smothered. Nice effort from the Swans. Spills to Burns, though. That was Clark with the 1%er. Burns kicks to safety out at half back for Higgins. Lifts a hand pass to Windhager. Jinking run, evades Campbell. Still defensive side of the wing. Kicks it into Heaney's hands. Spills back into traffic and a heavy tackle late on the wing. We'll have a ball up here just beneath our broadcast position. It's Sheldrick, the last man up with the footy. So St Kilda 1 straight, Sydney yet to score. 15 minutes in on Grandstand AFL. No late change.
Up it goes. Ross couldn't gather. Now it's a rolling maul on the wing. The umpire ball up again.
It's been an average start for both sets of teams. You know, Sydney have 9 inside 50s for no return, obviously, and they've gone to bud nearly 9. I'd say 8 out of 9. But and St Kilda's different tactic, just getting on the boot and getting into a contest.
Ross extracts and clears here for the Saints. Now a push here going St Kilda's way. A free kick for Max King. A long way from home, 65-70 out. To lay off the hand pass.
You think he's going to look to go along? That's what they've been doing with their entries from anything from 70-80 out.
He does come wide though.
Well, it's hard when Max King's not the target because he's got the
He
footy.
can get it yourself.
It's Burns who marks in front of the old grandstands here at the SCG. He's 75 from goal. Tries to play around the man of the mark here. Wrong foot's Haywood on the left boot. Comes back inside forward 50 and finds the chest down there. It's been marked by Windhager. Of course, back in the side this week, Marcus Windhager. His first game since round 7. Short kick to the corridor. Ross wasn't watching. Heaney just plucks it out of the air, takes it out of the intercept mark.
It's 2 in a row. They've tried to hit the corridor inside 50, the Saints, and kick it straight directly to Swans place.
Heaney for Warner, and now Blakey's hand pass was untidy. Knocked away by Crouch here for the Saints. Pressure here as well on Sheldrick. Off half back. Cunningham finds Campbell, works it back by hand again to Florent. He can kick back to the members' wing. Floating across there for the Saints was Stocker. Loose ball pounced on by Owens. Goes back inside 50 now for the Saints. Couldn't be grabbed on by Caminiti. Out there Higgins fires the hand pass looking for Butler. Blakey is lurking in defence, as is Campbell. He's wrapped up and the umpire will ball out. 35 out from St Kilda's goal, Paddington end. It's they who lead. 1 straight 6. The only goal of the game. Sydney yet to score. 16.5 gone in the opening term.
While the skill execution both sides, Tig, has been very, very average, the actual contest, scrap, fight from both teams has been very good.
Caminiti wins it down to McInerney of Sydney, kicks out of the defensive arc, and Stocker well set up. Marks in that launch pad between wing and half forward, kicks to the hot spot. Again, another intercept, Mark Melican. 25 out from his defensive goal line.
About 3 to 4 marks for the Swans inside the defensive 50 now, cutting off the Saints forward entries.
Great return, Corbs last week from Melican. Hasn't played for nearly a year and a half, and that'd be great for his confidence come across like that in front of the key forward and take the intercept mark as we hear cheers for Bud.
As he dunks in front of the members' pavilion. Beautiful green roofed grandstands. He goes short inboard to Cunningham. Lays a hand pass off to Fox. Spears the kick onto the chest of Sheldrick. And Angus Sheldrick has got the footy. A lad from Claremont, top 10 pick, goes off his non-preferred left boot. High up towards centre half forward. Windhager flies, no mark, spills through to Wanganeen Millerer. Hand pass away to Caminiti, went without it. Patley inadvertently sockers it in the wrong direction. Straight to Gresham, inside the centre square, unloads goalward, but he's off target. Needed a kind roll, didn't get it, tumbles out of bounds, and a throw in next to the behind post. An untidy start, 18 minutes in. St Kilda 1 straight. Sydney yet to score. You were spot on, Tig.
No scoring.
The umpire aid that a push. So there's no score to Sydney on the goal line. It was, in fact, a push in the back on against Buddy.
Back in it comes. One down to Higgins. Wrapped immediately by his opposite number in Blakey. Loose ball. Sheldrick comes through, holding the ball. So the tackle rewarded in there, McInerney.
Sorry, Coles, I thought you were going to go. Well, my prediction before the game was low-scoring game. 6-0.
That's also looking good as well.
Popping myself up here.
Comes short up to Florent. I reckon these sides thought it was a 20 past 7. That's why they're sort of just readjusting. That's why the first 10 minutes was so untidy.
Still the warm-up.
Away they come to the outer side. Early start tonight, 10 past 7 local time. Here he is with Campbell on the outer side of the SCG. Saints with the only goal so far.
He's starting to look more comfortable at the level now this year than ever.
Campbell hits up Patley, he takes the mark in the front half. Just forward to the wing under the Bill O'Reilly stand, eastern side. St Kilda 6, Sydney yet to score, 19 minutes in. Thursday night footy in round 13. Long ball to the forward pocket. Hands on it from McLean. Spills just inside the boundary line. Hayward keeps it alive. Hand pass to McLean. Gives it to Buddy. Tackled as he went to kick. Clark had a play on it. Lost it in the tackle. Buddy collects. One fend off. Second time he's caught. Holding the ball. And Lance Franklin isn't happy. He doesn't get caught too often and wants to take on Stocker. And that'll be a free kick to the former Blue. And the Saints will get it in the back pocket. Heavy tackle, just put his palm straight in the chest of Philippo and Stocker said, come here, and wrapped up a Sydney great. Free kick for the Saints' back pocket.
Approaching time on in the opening 2 minutes. Set mark taken by Blakey on the wing. Swans can go forward again. Pops it inside 50. It was a little too deep for Warner. Out the back, Clark, the former Kangaroo. Hand pass out in space. Again, Howard, big tackle on Warner. Dumps him too high. Free kick. A much bigger man, Dougal Howard, just ragged old Chad Warner around the shoulder. He sends it closer to goal now. Again, it's too deep down there for Wicks. Beaten to it here by Battle. Fires the hand pass back to Burns. Nurses the kick up the line here, straight to Clark. Intercepted again. His kick smothered this time by Butler. Loose ball now. Rowbottom. Hand pass off to Hayward from the pocket. Brings it back into the corridor, but it's intercepted again, this time by Dougal Howard. Saints can start again from fullback. 1 straight 6 to no score Sydney.
What's going on?
What are we watching? Turnover City.
Oh, isn't it? The start of this game as Owens hand pass to Welke, kicks to half-back. Wood dropped a mark he should have taken. Hand pass to Crouch. High up and under down the eastern boundary line. Lloyd competes with Caminiti. Ball spills off both of them and out of play. And we'll have a throw-in.
Yeah, Warner's got that ball on 50. He's got every right to go back and kick the set shot. There hasn't been a set shot in the game yet.
That's it. In the context of the game, it's like we've had plenty of ball. We're not getting shots on goal. Just go back and take a chance when you got.
Has there been a quarter of football where there hasn't been a set shot?
There's only been a single goal in the game. 1 straight to yet to score. Time on, opening turn. Boundary throw-in. Wood had it, lost it. Spills to Windhager. Still with St Kilda. Hand pass to Crouch. Kicks along the boundary line. Owens, good body. Got rid of Blakey. Takes the mark between wing and half forward. Eastern side, Saints by 6.
Last trip to Sydney, he was knocked out a few weeks ago against the Giants. Back in the side today, Mitch Owens sets it high to the hot spot now. Fisted away by Florent for the Swans in defence. Loose ball, Butler gets there first. Hand pass out to Wangani Miller. He can snap, kick responded out there by Clark. Tumbles away here towards Melican. Goes in hard as he taken high. Umpire says play on. And now in turn, it's Fox who turns tackler, and it's a ball up. Burns gets up underneath all of that. Gives it back to the umpire. We'll ball up 30 out here from St Kilda's goal at the Paddington end. 1 straight 6 their score. The Swans are yet to score. 22 gone in the opening quarter here on Grandstand AFL. Rowbottom goes to clear now for the Swans through the legs of Bradley Hill. Wangani Miller surges through here and just tries to just squeeze that ball inside 50. It was a little too wide of Higgins, and it skids out of bounds for a throw-in the left forward pocket now for the Saints.
You're right, Tig. Not a single set shot. Spriggy, I thought you would have had the stat. Has there been a quarter where there hasn't been a...
Coleman's a
Thursday night.
He's searching frantically over here to try and find the stats.
It's beyond my handwritten notes, I think. Boundary throw-in. 1 down by Caminiti. Comes to Hill. He's tackled and caught. And Gordon rewarded on half-back. And Gordon immediately miskicks one. That's the theme of the night. Across the half-back flank, Wood had it and then was taken front on without the footy. He's going to get a free.
It's the better players for Sydney and St Kilda that are turning to pill over.
Mason Wood, 60 out, lays it up, top of the goal square. They come from all directions. Punched away by Melican. Kept inside the boundary line. Clever work. Higgins hands it off to Owens outside of the right boot, but misses. They're behind. Just the second score in 23 minutes of footy. And the inside 50s have been 13-12 Sydney's way. It's St Kilda 1-1, Swans scoreless. 2 minutes before quarter time.
Florent kicks out, couple of bounces, runs too far. He's run too far, Ollie Florent.
If I said to you, Tig, there will be a set shot, but it'll come from a run too far.
Bradley Hill plays on, comes back to the corridors, knocked away from Butler. First pair of hands to it, McLean in defence now. Hickey gets it going. Hand pass out wide, Goulden off his shins. Ricochets only as far as Dougal Howard. Pressure though comes from Goulden in turn. On the flank now, Steele wrapped up by Goulden, and the umpire says, holding the ball, will go Steele's way. We've got news for you, Ty. We're on till 10:30 regardless. We need some long quarters, not short ones. Jack Steele with the ball at left half back. St Kilda have the first 7 points of the game.
How was that not the first set shot of the game?
We're not surprised though with the way the game's going.
Steele goes long to the wing and Florent knocks it out of bounds. Daniel Garb's on the boundary. Garby.
Franklin's actually, Barry Franklin's come to the bench in his 350th, which is probably a bit earlier than he would have expected for his milestone night. To a rousing round of applause, as you can imagine. Callum Mills sitting on the bench for the Swans, the injured co-captain, with the headset on. So Dane Rampey back out there now. Callum Mills has assumed his coaching responsibilities from the bench.
Thanks, Garby, from the boundary throw-in. Hickey won the hit out and grabs the footy. Now he's tackled on a ball up.
John Longmire back in the box as well this week. Of course, successful against Carlton a couple of weeks ago, so
stick with it.
Yep.
Saints by 7. The only 7 points in the game. As we tick towards quarter time, Rowbottom grabs it out of the stoppage, kicks down to half forward. McLean went to whack it back. A little play on it from Wicks. Couldn't quite handle it. Spills out to Hill. Handball to Wangadeen Millerer. His hand pass along the boundary line finds Battle. And he in turn works it through traffic to Sinclair. Floats a kick down the wing and Higgins skidding through takes the sprawling mark. Gives it back to Sinclair. Let's see how this kick goes. It's a good one. Onto the chest of Owens, but he drops it. Feeds a hand pass forward to Filippo. Spin move into traffic. Caught. And Blakey lays the tackle, wins the free. Hobbled early with a ankle complaint. He's had that looked at, as Garvey told us, but back out there. And the man with 7 years to run. He's got the footy at half back for Sydney.
Retreats back to fullback for Robbie Fox. They'll switch towards Lloyd at left. In the left back pocket now for the home side. Approach quarter time here. Just the one goal in the game so far, as you've been hearing. Robbie Fox marks on defensive 50 here for the Swans, showing no real urgency now here, the home side. All the way back across to Francis at fullback, the dying seconds of the opening term. Rampy marks. Short kick to Blakey. And mercifully, this first term comes to an end. St Kilda 1-1-7. Sydney yet to score. That first quarter went 25 minutes and 19 seconds. And it wasn't one for the record books or the classics as we get Thursday night football underway here in round 13. The only goal to Mateus Filippo for St Kilda. And that came rather early in the opening term. 1-1-7 to Sydney yet to score. By the way, a quick reminder that as the cricket is ongoing here in the World Test Championship, Day 2 at the Oval in London, Australia now 3 for 336. Steve Smith has just put up his 31st Test century. He is unbeaten on 103, and Travis Head still with him on 147. So play just underway. If you want to hear that, of course, it's on the ABC Listen app. Just find the cricket toggle on the ABC Listen app. It'll be your best friend throughout this World Test Championship and the Ashes. And the footy's still exciting as well, of course. Don't go just yet. But, of course, later on, if you are listening to our regional areas, you'll get that on local analogue radio as well, or via the ABC Listen app and ABC Sport Digital. Continued coverage of Day 2 of the World Test Championship, Australia versus India. In the meantime, we're at the SCG. It's St Kilda 1-1-7. The Swans are yet to score on ABC Radio, News Radio, and via the ABC Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
I've been waiting for you. Please sit down. You've been blessed with many heirs and heiresses. In the future, I see your children entranced by the ABC Listen app, understanding the world with news time, laughing out loud to story salad, and being lulled to sleep with story time and lullabies. Your reading is complete. Keep your money. The ABC Listen app is as free as the wind. Now go and download the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Saints go inside 50 again. High towards full forward. King gets the jump, not quite enough. Ricochets at the back and popped through by Filippo. He's got the first for St Kilda.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
And now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Not many highlights here at the Sydney Cricket Ground as the Swans take on St Kilda in the 2023 Pride game to start round 13. The Mateus Filippo goal in the opening term. Meanwhile, a Steve Smith highlight at the Oval in London.
Comes bounding in. Bowls to Smith, who works out through mid-wicket for 4. And there's his 100. 2 balls it's taken him. His helmet's off and he's waving his bat. A triumphant look to that. He's going round the ground now saying thanks very much.
So there you have it. Another plug for the cricket on the ABC Listen app as the World Test Championship rolls on. In the meantime, your experts here at the SCG are Jason Saddington and Ty Kennelly.
Well, Spriggy, I think you called it mercifully. The siren ends that quarter. It was there wasn't a lot of highlights, Ty. I think you called it about 3 minutes into the quarter when teams have been fumbling a little bit to start. It's like whoever gets a handle on this footy early is going to get an advantage in this game. Well, neither team got a handle on the footy throughout that quarter. There was a lot of fumbles. There was a lot of missed kicks. There was a lot of panic kicks heading inside 50. I mean, not to have one single set shot on goal for the whole quarter. I think the inside 50 marks probably all came from the Swans defenders in their defensive 50, cutting off some of the Saints entries that went in, and we had 13 inside 50s both teams. The Saints finished with 1-1. The Swans didn't even hit the scoreboard. It was just error, both teams in that quarter. With very few highlights, and I think it still comes down to this next quarter, who's actually going to get a handle on the footy and make some clean ball movement.
Yeah, you call this for 25 minutes 19 too long. It was the length of the quarter. It was as bad as the quarter. We'll see. The only way is up from a standard point of view, but sometimes you can get caught as a footballer coming out when it seems dry and then the underfoot, clearly it's been raining in Sydney and the ball, and you come to play a dry, a dry game of football, and your plan all week is cut a team up or play a possession game like Sydney are clearly looking to play, and then the conditions don't allow you to it, and you're not adjusting to the conditions by going slower and longer. And Sydney's still missing quite a few personnel to play that slower, longer game, but they certainly haven't adapted to the conditions. The injuries for both sets of teams haven't been great. They've been very shallow, which is obviously a lot. You're only having one goal, one score. If the ball's getting turned over by both sets of teams about 30 out from goal, and it's just been played between the 30s basically instead of between the 50s. The game's been played between the 30s. There hasn't been many deep. And like we said, one rush behind, which was a free kick as well. So it's very dirty game of football. That just the intensity's there, but it's just a scrappy affair, and I think the team that picks up that ball.
And being Buddy's 350, so talk about Buddy, he's actually out on the lead quite a few times, certainly early in that quarter, and the Swans, that were a couple of the really bad missed kicks which allowed Wilkie to intercept. He was free and out, and he did also drop a chest mark, Buddy, when he's out. So he is looking dangerous, but obviously the skill execution or his own drop chest mark just cost him the opportunity to hit the scoreboard, and we might have had a set shot on goal. And with St Kilda, you're right, they turned the ball over when they went inside 50, trying to hit up this inside corridor hit. When the goal they actually got was when they went deeper to the goal square, and we thought maybe that was going to be their pattern, but clearly not. So the entry piece is what both will definitely want to work on.
So the inside 50s were in that
13 apiece.
Yeah.
And the
It's 0% for Sydney.
Marks inside 51 and 1 from those 13 kicks.
I think that, that's a huge one. The other part of it, for Sydney's perspective, tie Franklin to the goal square a bit and mix it up, so because the ball's been drawn to him, and the Sydney players are clearly going to him a lot, and tie him to the goal square, which gives you that deeper entry and it forces the players to kick it longer and deeper, because they're not doing it from a Sydney perspective. But St Kilda will be happy. They're playing a better brand as such, and because Sydney are overusing the ball in these conditions and going to turn it over, so they're going to give you chances. But it's the only way is up, like I said, from a spectacle point of view. But stay with us, listeners.
Getting a second verse of Sweet Caroline. I don't know if we get the time we lost in the first quarter back onto the quarter-time break. Anyway, second term underway. St Kilda with the first 7 points of the game. The Swans still yet to score. Hickey v Marshall in the middle. It's Gresham out of the middle here for the Saints. Comes down the corridor. As he looks for there was a whistle here for a hold going St Kilda's way. That will go the way of Max King.
Yeah, I was watching Francis as the ball. He's actually ducked right, King, and Francis, he's doubled back, and Francis had hold of him, so it was a free kick, well picked up by the umpire.
So Max King directly in front here, 25 out.
First set shot of the game.
Genuine set shot of the game here, Max King, who's in form, by the way, as well. 8 goals in his past 2 games since his return.
Star.
Also kicked 5 goals last time these sides met, round 23 last year. That game at Docklands. King on the approach for St Kilda's second. He makes no mistake. 50 seconds into the second term, St Kilda is 2-1-13. Swans are yet to score here on ABC Sport. You're with Grandstand AFL.
I don't know what you're worried about, Tiger. Only took 30 seconds.
That's right. Floodgates have opened. Floodgates have opened.
It just shows the effect of winning a clearance at the SCG. That ball landed 30 off from goal from the centre clearance, and we talk about it an awful lot here in Sydney as far as the distance between the centre circle and 30 off from goal. But it's an easy free kick to give up from the centre half back, as in France has been conscious of the body instead of looking at the ball, where Sydney had that wrapped up if they didn't give the free kick against.
5, Max, the last time these two teams played. It was actually the last game of the regular season. Happened in the afternoon following that pulsating Carlton-Collingwood game on G across town at Docklands. Both teams out of the finals mix, and Dan Hanbury's final game against his old team, and it was actually best of field. Out of the middle go the Saints. Crouch, hand pass away to Gresham, kicks to half forward. There's a free kick. It's a hold. It's against Caminiti. Blakey's going to get it. He bounces up again with his sore ankle. A little hobbled. Still able to get a kick away as he swings it to centre half back for Florin. Sydney with the footy, but yet to score through 2 minutes into the second quarter. 2-1 to yet to score. Kick out wide for McInerney, as he often does, patrolling that eastern wing. No late change coming in. Sharman and Amati, the two subs. The kick from McInerney down to half forward. Carries the pack. Hayward had it, lost it. Sinclair off the deck, sockers it forward. McInerney involved again for the Swans. Hand pass to Rowbottom, who goes to ground. Got it out, but turns it over. Sinclair away towards Higgins. He gives it to Steele, and a hand pass out wide to Filippo. Heads to half forward. Owens, the target out in front of him, hits the deck and slides out of play. The boundary throw in half forward for the Saints, kicking to the Randwick end in the second term.
Yeah, just getting. Oh, what? Sorry, Jess.
Yeah, no, Tyler, I was going to say, is it fair to say the Swans get a lot of their score launches off half back, quick turnover, some run and carry, Blakey dashing through? They've just been very slow today, slow build up, kick mark, not getting that free flowing turnover game going from half back.
Back in it comes Marshall. Down to the run here of Crouch coming by. Swans could ricochet away here off half back to Patley. The marks on the back edge of the square. There's it wide here to Jake Lloyd. And left half back. And wheel and go now. Options up ahead. McInerney on the wing as well. Comes back here. Collides with Battle through midair as well. Knocks it out to space and it finds the boundary line. The umpire says deliberate. Looking for salvation. It was Webster, in fact. So it was the Saint who got the most telling touch on that. It's a Sydney free kick as a result. Lloyd puts it back inside forward 50 here. Leaping up. Franklin. The was up there in front. Hayden McLean plunks it on the angle, 25 out.
Nothing like predictability is a key forward. You know it's there, and that boy Jake Lloyd has a great understanding of football and to not overuse it. Clearly Sydney coaches got hold of the group quarter time and said let's mess around with it and try and play a bit straighter, and that's what they've done. You saw when the far wing with Justin McInerney didn't try and go for it, went longer, try and play a bit wetter footy so you're straighter.
McLean, a couple of goals in his last start. It's Carlton before the bye. On the approach, 45-degree angle, and he hits the posts. Swans' first score is a behind. St Kilda 2-1, 13. 4.5 minutes having elapsed in this second term here at the City Group ground on Grandstand AFL.
The promising thing with McLean tonight, Tig, he's marked the ball strongly twice. He's flying for the footy. They will need that as another key forward for them.
Sinclair steps out of the goal square, goes wide to Wilkie, and Wilkie landed awkwardly. His lower leg, he gets up limping as well, but he's trying to run it off. Ball ends up out of play. Throw in half forward for the Swans.
Ultra impressed with Wilkie again tonight. I saw him 2 weeks ago against the Giants, who's one of the best players on the ground. He's been super again tonight so far.
The job on Franklin, stands next to him in the goal square boundary, throwing 60 out from the Swans goal. Hickey wins it down, but straight to Windhager. Squeezes a kick down the wing. Cunningham clever. Deft touch to Blakey. Handball away to McInerney for Sydney. Turns into trouble. Bradley Hill and also a Filippo in the two-man tackle. They've got him. And Filippo is going to be rewarded. The man who kicked the only goal in that opening term. Hand pass away to Burns. Gives it to Sinclair. Eastern wing. Long kick to Max King. He climbs over Rampy, but Rampy stands in front of him to take the juggled mark. Intercept mark for Rampy. And Sydney co-captain half back.
Off to Blakey at fullback. Nexus defensive 50 with the kick. And then Miller reads it well. Takes the chest mark and wins a surface for the cricket pitch. Hand pass to Webster. Sorry, Saturday goes back inside 50 here. A little too deep for Owens with a shove from Blakey. It trickles its way towards the behind line. Minor score St Kilda 2-2-14 to Sydney 1 behind. 6 go on second term.
I was just going to say on that exit with Blakey, so they've been slow and sideways a lot, the Swans. It's like he was trying to open something up and come through the corridor. It wasn't quite on though.
We're in a live play here at half back, and McInerney hits up Clark. Chance to slow it down. He gives it back to McInerney. Keeps on running. Third touch in the chain. Kicks down the wing. Misses Franklin. And Wilkie for St Kilda. An easy collect. Hand pass to Steele, the captain. The two-time All-Australian floats a high ball down the wing. Caminiti competes. No mark. Falls to Burns. Still with the Sainers. Gives it to Crouch. Hurried handball to turnover. And eastern wing. Clark picks it up. Kicks into traffic. His kick smothered. Ricochets out of bounds.
It's the same as the last couple of weeks for Sydney. I've seen the last two they've played. North Melbourne game down in Melbourne, and they're very clunky with their ball movement. It's just not happening for them, and it's not sharp. Clearly it was a stand-up from last year, is their ability to bounce off half-back and then really attack the corridor, and it's very clunky at the moment. And clearly they're trying to bring through the corridors. You saw Blakey there in that instance as well, also with Clark.
Saints by 13. Marshall tumbles it forward inside 50 now for St Kilda. It's Melican who's brought to the boundary line. Pressure balls from Mitch Owens. It goes out of bounds for a throw-in. 7 go on second term. In front of 20,000. perhaps on this Thursday evening at the SCG. Umpire waste no time throwing it back in. Stoppage inside 50 here for St Kilda at the round weekend. Warner out to meet it now. Just hurries it beyond defensive 50 at the knees of Papley. Little 1-2 there with Clark. Back to Papley, who can just send the kick wide through the fingertips of Goulden. Pressure comes from Wanganeen Miller as also Burns. Gets it back to Wanganeen Miller toward the boundary line, keeps it alive. Now puts St Kilda back towards 50. Owens takes the chest mark 55 out.
Good player, this boy, isn't he? He's
yeah.
an impact in this game.
Yep, one of the Rising Star favourites. He was the round 4 nomination. Goes deep to the pocket now, 2-on-1. Outnumbered down there was Max King, and Hickey content to just spoil it out of bounds for a throw-in. Players getting tangled up down there as well. Bit of push and shove, but we'll throw it back in deep in attack for the Saints, who lead by 13 points. 8 go on second term.
Absolutely, Tyke. Owens, he's had the 7 possessions, 3 marks, 3 inside 50s. Missed a couple of weeks, but gee, he's on tonight.
Hickey wins the hit out down to Florent. Back pocket, kicks out of the defensive 50. Bouncing footy in front of McLean. Can't trap it. Close to the boundary line. Goulden just keeps it in. Still on the back flank for Sydney. Turns and kicks off his preferred left boot down the wing, but turns it over. Not alone tonight. A number of those poor skill errors, and Goulden, who's ordinarily really neat with the footy, another one there.
St Kilda holding the six defenders back and with an anchor almost behind Franklin, and it's worked from a couple of times. Wilkie's doing it really well, and Sydney just getting too high as forwards in the ball, which is making it hard for them to get the ball past halfway when they are coming from half back, and probably St Kilda worried about Sydney's dash.
Howard, Wilkie, Burns, back to Wilkie. Short kicking game in the defensive half. Wilkie pulls the trigger down to half forward, but an intercept grab. Hayden McLean.
Yeah, good strong man.
Second one of the game. Took a contested mark for a score earlier in the quarter. Lays it off. The kick heads down to half forward. Franklin competes, no mark. Falls down to Papley. Papley 52 out, unguarded. Goal square, Dobson. What the game needed. Tom Papley with a bit of class on the run. And Sydney at last have their first of the game. It's taken 9 minutes into quarter number 2. And Tom Papley with Sydney's opener. 1-1-7, St Kilda 2-2-14. Sainers lead cut in half. Jason Saddington, Ty Connelly.
And McLean set that one up. Fantastic contested mark once again. He's looked very good in the air so far tonight. Terrific mark. Bit of quicker ball movement straight through to Buddy. Huge contest 2v1. Ball came to ground. Papley doing like a good small forward should right at the front to get the crumb. And if anyone's going to breathe some life into this game for the Swans and start to hit the scoreboard, it is Tom Papley. And it was just through some probably faster ball movement they were able to get off the McLean contested mark at half back.
Yeah, the handball to Rampy, which allowed the 1v1 to Franklin, which creates the contest, and Papley, the minute he picks it up, was going for goal.
From the restart, Hickey and Marshall tap down here looking for Windhager. Looking to it though by Sheldrick. Swans with the clearance again, high inside 50. Wilkie says that's mine, takes the chest market in the left back pocket. So Mark in Adelaide asked about his consecutive games streak. What's that, 97 now, Corbin? 97 consecutive games since debut for Callum Wilkie. Of course, the North Adelaide product comes up the outer side here. Hickey can't control it. Rowbottom comes through as well, wrapped up by Ross. Hand pass out while looking for Florence, sticks out the leg. They pile in from all angles here, and that's in play. Florent gets to his feet, stands in the Bradley Hill tackle, and now we'll ball it up just forward of the wing, where the Saints lead by 7 points. Daniel Garb on the boundary.
So because the game has lacked so much fluidity and goals, the players have been waiting to come on for long periods, struggling to get the interchanges going. Errol Goulden spent 10 minutes in the first quarter trying to get on. Jack Higgins just waited for 10 minutes as well, and they didn't like it.
It's good inside Garby. Daniel Garb on the interchange as the Swans work it inside 50, and Windhager immediately kicks it back out up to the wing. Here's Campbell leading Phillippo to the footy, just knocks it away to his teammates' advantage, and here goes Florin. Just burns off Steele, says I'm going straight through, brushes him aside. 70 out, Florin to the top of the goal square. Franklin down there, no mark, got hands to it. Oh, then Franklin followed through with a tackle on Marshall. That was a bit undisciplined and gives away a free. Top of the defensive goal square. Marshall will get it for St Kilda. Lays it off to Stocker. Ugly kick. Put Burns under the pump, but lays it off eventually to the run of Wilkie.
Has room to bounce. Now kicks up the outer side towards a one-on-one. Out there, Kennedy in the contest with Melican. Melican wins it away now. Hand pass in space. Out to meet the footballers, Rowbottom. Off to Francis. Has some room to move now, but sends the hand pass well out wide now for McInerney. And he can just pop the kick short to Tom Hickey. Just forward to the wing. Saints by 7 points, 12 gone second term. High ball inside 50 here for the Swans. Here's Buddy. No, it was too deep. Ricochets away off McLean. Hayward snaps from the pocket. Franklin's got a free kick, has he? Will come back.
Oh, he's called play.
He's called play on it. Pay the advantage. It's a behind. It's a behind or a point. Take your pick. Off the boot of Hayward. So it's 1-2-8 the Swans. Buddy's 1,058th goal goes begging for now. St Kilda 2-2-14, 12 and a half gone second quarter.
If he was frustrated before, Lance, I don't think that's going to help his mood. Isaac Heaney's getting shots of him on the big screen. He's coming your way, Garby. He's got blood streaming down his face. It's always the guys with the blonde hair too. The contrast is even greater. There's blonde locks and just a heap of claret busted open.
It was in the tackle when he tackled Seb Ross. He's just had a head clash. Seb Ross has thrown his head back and it's clocked Heaney right in the nose as he's tackled him.
Down to Garby in a moment. Jimmy Webster with the footy at half-back. Goes short to Wangadeen Miller. Still at half-back. Windhager all alone on the wing. Takes the mark. And they're in a slow play again, the Saints. Windhager wants to change that. Plays on. Heads down to half-forward. Mason Wood takes the chest mark. Still 60 out right half-forward. Same as by a goal. Low-scoring, ugly quarter and a half of footy so far. 14 minutes played second term. 2-2 to 1-2. Straightens up to Ross. Now to Webster. Webster tries to kick over the zone as he goes all the way to the goal line. Hands on it from Caminiti. No mark. Close to the boundary line and Florent paddles to his own advantage. Gives it to Lloyd. Handball to Clark and he kicks off the back flank.
McLean leads out here. Beats still to the football. Can't hit the mark though at the drop. Wangadeen Miller, a hand pass out wide. Intercepted by Clark. Knocks it back to the wing only as far as Wilkie though. And the Saints defender can swing it across half back. And they'll take the pace out of the game here for Liam Stocker. Centre half back now for St Kilda.
With 14 touches, Wilkie leading possession getter on the ground. He's doing a lot of work just floating off across half back, but playing it well.
Webster, the Tasmanian. 2-2 plays 1-2. 14 goal in second term. St Kilda's lead. Crouch has it on the logo commentary side.
Kicking efficiency, by the way, mid-60s. It doesn't feel like it's even that high, to be honest, the way that the game's been played so far as Crouch kicks a high bomb to half-forward. G. Wood had a fair piece of it, and McLean steals it from him. Standing in front of the pack. And Sydney with an intercept mark. Short kick to Warner.
Turnovers, 35 to 30. That is an absurd number.
Yeah, that's a game number. That's right. It's a quarter and a half into the game, and we're not surprised with a look at
Warner runs, carries, kicks to McLean.
This block's been clean.
Hand pass away to Warner. He goes on a darting run down the wing. Hand pass away to Wicks. Straight into a St Kilda sandwich. And Owens and Crouch lock him up. The ball up on the wing. Daniel Garb.
Isaac Heaney did come off smiling as his face was covered in blood. Didn't seem too bothered by it, but he has gone down the rooms with the trainer to have it attended to.
Goal apiece in their second term. Saints by 6 points. Crouch, at that time by Rowbottom. Loose ball pounced on by Owens. Kick up and under towards the centre circles. So it's marked by Florent here for the Sydney Swans. Walks around Butler. Has room to move now. Sends it deep down the corner looking for Franklin. Leads up. Second bite, third bite. Pulls it in. And Buddy will take his kick from 35 out. Slightly left of centre.
Well played, Lance. He's had a couple in front of him, whether it is Wilkie or someone dropping off in front of him. He's had to fight 2v1 for most of his injuries in this quarter, and again in this incident he's actually not gone up with two hands. He's knocked it off with his right hand and bobbled the ball and took it. And it's probably his strength now when he's marking the football, because he's not great with the two hands. He's actually paddled the ball in the air to himself, and it's great effort.
He can level things up here, and he's 350th. Lance Franklin on the approach. He strikes it with the left boot with a goal to ascend to football's Rushmore of goal-kicking greatness. Goal number 1058. Lockett, Coventry, Dunstall and Franklin. And it'll be that for quite some time. Scores level 2-2, 14 apiece, 17 goal in second turn here on Grandstand AFL.
And he has looked ominous all night, Buddy. He's led up at the footy. He's probably the most energetic I've seen him all year. And why wouldn't you be in your 350th? Be up and about and energetic. Even we saw early in the first quarter where he got a bit of biff and quite aggressive in there on, I think, a Jack Steele tackle. He just seems very vibrant tonight, Buddy. And his attack on the footy there, you've mentioned Tigers, he's had to compete 2v1 a few times, and That time, stick the one arm up and paddle it down to yourself. It's impressive stuff.
He's had to play more games this year than I'm sure John Norman and the coaching staff would like to, because of the key position forwards being out for Sydney.
So all of a sudden, scores level. Franklin up to 1,058. One past Doug Wade. Free kick in the middle going Sydney's way, and young Sheldrick will take it. Drives it deep inside 50. Ball coming across. Stocker collides in midair with his teammate. Ball spits out in front of Papley. Can't get a handle on the greasy footy. Sitting on top of it is Webster. In the end, has to get a hand pass over his shoulder. Pack forms behind him. And the ump still lets them roll. Eventually calls for it. Ball up 40 out from the Swans' goal.
I love that. Even then, when the ball hit the ground, Buddy, he's sniffing it around. He's hunting for the footy. He's diving in to try and get the ball out.
Looks extra motivated tonight, Lance Franklin, in game 350. 18 minutes into the second term, scores level. Ross, as he's been tackled, squeezes a kick out to Owens. Lays a hand pass off to Gresham. Long kick to half forward. King the target, a one-on-one. Melican clever. Taps it through to Rampy, and the hand pass to Florence, still at half-back.
Has room to bounce. Looks at the options to the middle of the SCG. A short kick to find the chest of Goulden.
How good's Florent been this quarter? Really starting to get him going off half-back.
Goulden switches back to the wing member's side with the hands of Blakey. Goes to retrieve it now. No real pressure on him. Comes infield, where it is marked by Sheldrick. Just sort of halfway here for the Swans. They found their way back in. Only 2-2, 14 apiece. And we're about to hit time on here in the second term. All the way back to the SCG now for Rampy on his preferred left side. Long ball to the hot spot here for the Swans. Hickey is outnumbered. Rode by Papley. We can snap on the left and send it through. That's Papley's second, and the Swans hit the front. 3-2, 20 plays, 2-2, 14, 19 go on second quarter here on Grandstand AFL via ABC Sport.
Don't have to look at it again whether Hickey actually tapped that down. I have to look at the back of the replay. The ball was kicked from Rampy that deep inside 15. We asked for some deeper inches from Sydney and from both sets of teams at quarter time. A deeper entry, but have to look at a replay on the screen whether Hickey actually tapped that down, knowing that Papley was going to run onto the crumb itself. But nice finish, and Papley, as he does the small forward, certainly is one that looked very clean tonight.
He had a ton of space too at the front there, Papley. I'm not sure his direct opponent was who let him go, but he had a ton of space to crumb that ball all on his own.
By the way, at the Oval, Travis Head has been dismissed for 163, so Australia 4 for 3-6-1 early on day 2 of the World Test Championship, Australia versus India. Coverage on the ABC Listen app or continuing later on after the footy.
So St Kilda scored the first 14 points in the game up until the 9-minute mark of the second quarter, and in the last 10 minutes, Sydney 3-2-20 have scored the next 20 points to lead by 6. Secondary ball up in the middle, Daniel Garb on the boundary.
Isaac Heaney's had the face cleaned up. He seems unbothered by that nose issue. He's back in the middle of the ground now, testing it out.
Thanks, Garby. Sheldrick more of the grunt work. Hands it out to Florent. Kicks to Franklin. Slips through his hands. Falls down to Goulden. At speed. Hits it. Kicks goalward. He's offline. Misses. Tackled as he got his kick away. And Dougal Howard with what could have been a goal saver, but Sydney with a head of steam up here. 3-3. St Kilda 2-2. Time on second term.
And Florent again got that clearance. You know, he's looking very dangerous this quarter, and a lot of Sydney's drive has been off him of half back. And Sinclair at the moment, they're playing with that high half forward that comes up to the stoppage. St Kilda, that is, bringing Florent up to the contest.
Kick out with Stocker. Hickey meets it with his fist, and it's out of bounds for a throw in front of the members' stand.
This Angus Sheldrick looks like he's been spending every minute since he joined the club with Luke Parker.
Yeah, it looks like Mini Parker, isn't he? Yeah.
He wears a number in the 20s. Yeah. He's sort of built a similar way. Does all the grunt work.
He runs with the flaps as well, like Parks does.
Swans by 7 points from the throw-in. Steele, quick hands to Bradley Hill. Intercepted by Braden Campbell. Up the boundary line he comes. Comes back into the corridor. It's knocked away by Stocker. Smothered. Goes to retrieve it. Now pressure from Campbell sees him over the boundary line now for a throw-in. So the stoppage deep in attack for the Sydney Swans at the Paddington end. They lead 3-3, plays 2-2. 21 gone here in the second term.
Yeah, worry for the Saints at the moment. It's a drop of the ball in this front half. Their defenders or their mids just aren't going with their opponents. They're kind of guessing that it's going to go their way, and it's not at the moment. Swans winning the ground balls in the front half.
Swans by 7. Time on second term for the boundary throw. And Wanganeen Miller shares it with Crouch. Hand pass back into dispute. Heaney socketed at the top of the goal square. Franklin tried to volley it through, and I think he kicked Wilkie in the process. Wilkie left limping. The ball beats them both out of play.
That would have been a beauty,
wouldn't it? He's getting inspired by Ange's appointment to Tottenham.
What a man. How good.
The boundary throw in after all of it. Right forward pocket. Paddington end of the ground where the Swans are attacking. Foot skills are in as Sinclair out of mid-air kicks it out of the defensive 50, knocked it offhand straight down to Heaney, still at half forward, kicks to the top of the goal square. Franklin crashes the pack, falls through to Wicks, tackled, lost it. Hill, top of the defensive goal square for St Kilda, hand pass out to Steele.
Steele's kick goes straight out of bounds on the full. Never quite looked set as he went to rebound beyond defensive 50. It's out of bounds on the full. 55 out here for the Swans. It's with Campbell. So the Swans with all the ball, it seems, in this second quarter. 3 goals to boot. High towards the top of the square. Hickey lifts it out in space. Stocker content to rush it through for a minor score. Sydney 3-4-22. St Kilda 2-2-14. 23 gone second term.
So 3-4 to 1-1 for the quarter.
They're just more predictable, Sydney, with their inches as well. They've been straighter and deeper, and like you say, Jason, the Smalls and St Kilda Smalls defenders have just been assuming.
Swans by 8 points after St Kilda scored the first 14 points of the game. Sydney have then scored the next 22, and that's all we've had. Wanganeen Millera out of the goal square, goes long to half-back. Francis spoils, still doesn't go out. Along the boundary line, Owens bucked over by Melican, and we'll have a throw-in in front of the St Kilda bench, which is in front of the beautiful old ladies stand here at the Sydney Cricket Ground.
And why wouldn't you go more longer and direct? I mean, McLean up forward's been a very good mark so far tonight. Buddy's just competing super hard for everything.
Sydney by 8. Warner goes through traffic. As well to extract it. High ball inside 50 here for the Swans. A little too wide for Wilkie. Pressure here on Philippou. Sockers it away. Only goes as far here as Lloyd. Head over the football with courage. Umpire says play on. 40 out from Sydney's goal. Battle goes in hard now for St Kilda. McNamee tries to tunnel it out as well. Lloyd sockers it 4 to Hayward. Picks it up here in the Wilkie tackle. The umpire says enough of that. Let's ball it up. 35 out from the Sydney goal at the Paddington end. Up it goes. Marshall, Sinclair involved. Heaney and Steele tangled up as well. Goulden snaps on the right boot toward the square. Second, third bite again. Franklin pops it through on the goal line. But he's got 2. And the Swans have their 4th of the quarter. 4-4-28 to 2-2-14. 25 gone second term. Taikanelli and Jason Saddick.
No, it's just a one-on-one, Buddy v Wilkie. I mean, Wilkie's a fantastic one-on-one player, but the Buddy we're seeing tonight, it's like he's wound back the clock a few years. He's just fighting super hard for every footy. And that one-on-one there, just smart enough to get Wilkie under the ball a little bit, force him under, get the ball to drop over the back and have a nice little slam it through from the goal square.
We'd love to be able to try and, if the listeners were able to watch this, and I'll try and explain it. If Franklin was caught in the wrong position as a key forward, where Wilkie had the position where the ball was on his favourite side, Franklin turned around and ran back towards goal and bodied Wilkie out of position. It was just a great passage of play from a forward, knowing exactly what he can do with his body, and outworked Wilkie out of position to make the contest have, and the ball ended up landing in his lap.
6-6-6 warning against the Saints, and in the context of the game, they're getting completely beat down here, St Kilda, even though it's still close on the scoreboard. Another centre break for the Swans. Goulden kicks it deep out of the middle, hand on it from McLean, spills through the way of the Swans again. It's Wicks, top of the goal square, bounces it through. Make it 5 in a row for Sydney. And this is a team that was scoreless at the 10-minute mark of the second quarter. 15 minutes later, they lead it by 20 points. 5-4-34, St Kilda 2-2-14. Flat-footed at the SCG, Ty Kennelly and Jason Saddington.
It's front half domination at the moment from the Swans. Another centre clearance, ball in the front half, inside 50s. For this quarter, Swans 15 to St Kilda 8, and it's been that dominance in the last 5 to 10 minutes. And again, another small forward crumb. A big contest from the Swans' tall forwards, and Wicks this time was able to get free as the crummer and snap it through. You know, the Saints, they really need to clean up this ground ball in their defensive 50. They're getting beaten every time it hits the deck.
They start back in the middle. This time the Saints win the clearance through Gresham. High ball inside 50. Spoil from Francis for an attempt anyway. At the drop, Owens overruns the ball and pressure from Melican. Hand pass away here for Sinclair. Loose man. Snaps on the left. It bounces into the goal square. Into McInerney. In there, Caminiti as well. Knocks it away towards Higgins. And he runs over for a throw. No, it's a free kick going the way of Caminiti, is it? Deep in the left forward pocket. Copped a bit of high contact. in all of that. So he'll have a set shot here from the tightest of angles at left full forward. And don't the Saints need this to stem the flow? As Caminiti opens up the angle and pops it through. St Kilda get their second goal of the quarter, and they cut the margin back to 14 points after the Swans kicked 5 in a row. The Sydney Swans are 5-4-34, St Kilda 3-2-20. 27 minutes having gone here in the second term here on Grandstand AFL.
It looks like the only way they're going to get ball in the forward half is from a centre clearance. St Kilda with Sydney's dominance in the last 10 minutes of football, and that's exactly what happened. And they got the ball to the top of the square, and it was a bit of a scrap, and it was Fox that fell over the top of him, and a goal against the run of play, to say the least. And certainly they needed St Kilda. It's 3.5 minutes to go in the quarter.
Game has certainly been a game of runs so far. The first 14 points for the Saints, the next 34 for Sydney. And now St Kilda with a goal to try and stop the bleeding and see if they can turn it into a momentum shifter. It's 14 points Sydney's way, closing in on half-time. Hickey down to Rowbottom, hands it back to Hickey, hand pass back to Rowbottom. Handball to Heaney, drops to his knees, got a hand pass away to Papley, and now the centre break. Hooks a kick to centre half forward. Filippo back behind the footy, takes the intercept mark for St Kilda. Mateus, the 18-year-old, he drives his kick down the wing, flying over the top. Malik and didn't get a play on the ball, and a free kick for the Saints. They want to move it quickly. Gresham tries to take the advantage. The ump says it has to come back. And Mitch Owens is going to get it in a slow play here, and all the Sydney players back inside their defensive arc. 3 minutes to go before halftime. Swans by 14. And a long kick from Owens in the King direction. He's caught at the back, hits the deck. Butler under pressure, hand pass out wide to Gresham, swings a handball in the water, he's caught. Two-man tackle taken down, left forward pocket for St Kilda. Butler jumps straight back to his feet, claiming the footy. Also involved in the tackle was Marshall, and the ump's happy for Butler to take it.
Yeah, outstanding tackle. As you know, one is going to give you a chance because he does try and take players on and creates more pressure, forward pressure, and allows an opportunity. Wrapped up the hand itself in the tackle as well, and swung around and snapped the hand, which forced the turnover.
Only on a slight angle to the left, but he's going to hook it across the body onto his preferred right peg. Slight angle, 25 out. Butler serves up a couple in a row. And St Kilda shift a bit of momentum. 2 back for the Saints. And Sydney's lead, which did stand at 20 points, is now just 8. Half-hour mark second term. St Kilda 4-2-26. Chasing Sydney 5-4-34.
Well, it is a nice response because it was all Swans for a good 10 minutes or so. The Saints with a couple inside 50s. First to the ball, free kick goal to Caminiti, and now nice pressure tackle from Butler, free kick goal. So a couple of free kicks probably annoyed John Longmire a little bit that they've given them up off the back of free kicks. They haven't had to earn them. They've given them the shots on goal.
Yeah, the scrappier this game is, the better it is for St Kilda.
So far.
We've seen that in the game with the way it's panned out, with Sydney kicking 5-4 for the quarter itself, and St Kilda kicking the 2 goals in the quarter from free kicks.
The unmistakable voice of Ty Connelly on Grandstand AFL. Hit the half-hour mark of the second quarter. They start back in the middle. Marshall's kick's funded by Hickey on the follow-up. Those hands Rowbottom to it now with Heaney and Florin also involved. Turnover again out of Sinclair of the Saints. The reigning best and fairest puts them back towards left half forward. On the bounce, Francis in defence, shares it with Robbie Fox, who runs out of room and will throw it back in. 55 around at the Randwick end from St Kilda's attacking goal. Sure, Ross Lyon enjoys the response he's seen from his side after a lacklustre sort of 15-20 minutes in that second term. Swans still lead by 8. Back in it comes. Hickey lays it down here. Going to clear a path for Sheldrick. Out the back though, Bradley Hill to Crouch, turns and just pops it inside forward 50 here in the King direction. Knocked out here in defence for Florent. The kick looks at okay though. It wasn't the best looking kick, but it goes to McInerney, and the rebound here to Hayward at left half back.
I'll give him the credit, Spriggy. I reckon he saw him off his left and pulled it out, knowing the kid and the skill ability that he's got, and he's on fire at his broad over the front.
Yeah, kicked the belly of the ball too.
Yeah, off the left was lovely, wasn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I think he meant to do it. Unbelievable. As Hayward goes short to Florent. Still at half back for the Swans. That's a good kick. Drills it out wide to McInerney in front of the benches.
It's up to 19 touches, Florent.
Sydney by 8 points. Goes inboard to Blakey. Runs straight into Wood. Lays the tackle, got a handball out to Fox, just a high up and under, down to half forward. Punched away from by Marshall in the end, down towards Campbell of the Swans. Handball to Hickey, gives it to McInerney. Handballs along the line, but it's out of play. Boundary throwing in front of the member stand, 70 out from the Sydney goal. After one of the worst quarters of football you're ever likely to see. We've had 8 goals in the quarter, so 5-3 Sydney's way, and the Swans lead it by 8 points. 33 gone, second term.
Back in it comes. Marshall. And here only as far as McInerney. The arms pinned by Ross. Brought to ground. Loose ball pounced on by Sinclair. Marshall hand pass out wide again. It's tracked back here by Windhager. Little 1-2 and Crouch can clear. Back along the wing. Blakey floats across. Second bite takes the intercept mark. Who gives a push. In fact, Francis copped the push. It's a free kick for the ex-Bomber. He'll have it right on the wing broadcast side in the dying moments of this first half. Plays on quickly, comes back wide to Blakey by foot. The man with the longest current contract in the AFL, marks and just dumps it off the left boot. High towards half forward now. Hickey was outnumbered. Going in hard, Sheldrick. Crouch and Heaney tangled up as well as in there as well. Franklin to Campbell. Works it further afield now for McInerney. Fires on goal from 45. The wingman. It's slightly across the face and it goes through for a minor score to the right-hand side. The Swans are 5-5-35. St Kilda 4-2-26. 33 gone here in the second quarter.
Thank goodness I've had 33 gone, I tell you, because quarter time Tig was looking up a few Irish stories and yarns to get us through to the end of the coverage tonight.
I can still put them on.
And that'll do us on the Stocker kick out to finish the first half of footy. In many ways, it was built as a historic night here at the SCG with Lance Franklin playing his 350th game. It was also equal with Doug Wade in equal fourth in the all-time goal kickers list. He told Wade to move aside and sat into the fourth seat outright in the hall of greatest goal kickers in the game's history, slotting his first goal of the night at the 16-minute mark of that quarter. He soon had a couple. So Franklin with 2 for Papley, 1 for Wicks, meanwhile for St Kilda, 1 each for King, Butler, Filippo and Caminiti. So an 8-goal quarter. Spriggy after a dire opening term, and at half-time it's Sydney 5-5-35, St Kilda 4-2-26. Swans by 9.
Yes, the Swans did hit back in that second term, didn't they? Your experts are Ty Canelli and Jason Saddington.
Fantastic quarter from the Swans. Yeah, we did talk about the first quarter. They struggled to hit the scoreboard. Well, once they got going, it was a flurry of goals coming through there. Buddy's been fantastic up forward. He's kicked 2, but some of the contests he's made, 2v1, his marking contest to bring the ball to the ground, which actually helped Papley get a couple of his goals. It's been fantastic to see him wind back the clock a little bit tonight. I think we've seen a bit of Buddy magic up forward for the Swans. So he played a big part in them kicking the 5 goals that quarter. Papley was busy, and the drop of the ball in the front half, I thought the Swans got the ascendancy. Even Sammy Wicks with the goal that he kicked was a drop of the ball. St Kilda defenders, I'm sure it'll be something they'll be looking at the break, is how close checking they are when the ball does hit the deck in that front part of the field. It was a good response, though, from the Saints towards the back end of that quarter to get themselves a couple of late goals off free kicks. Butler with a bit of pressure there and a great tackle on Warner to get the 4th goal on the board for the Saints. It's been a really interesting game of footy. It was scrappy early. The skills in the first quarter were terrible. The clean hands weren't there. But that quarter it did start to open up, and I think one of the major reasons it probably opened up a bit more for the Swans was Florin across half-back was terrific. He's had the 19 touches through that quarter. His run and drive really got him going. He was able to get the ball deep in there to Buddy and those forwards, which we just did speak about a little bit earlier. But I think also we saw the clearance work, I think, from the Swans that quarter. Rowbottom's had the 6 clearances and they got on top, certainly in the centre bounce area, and the Swans lead the clearances also 24-19. So we're in a really good position. It's been a bit of a scrap early. Game started to open up, and I think we've got a fantastic contest on our hands and some areas to improve from both teams, but I'm sure they both go in with, fairly comfortable where things are at, and they can launch into this second half.
Yeah, the longer the game was keeping scrappy, staying in a scrappy affair, it was suiting St Kilda. That when it opened up a bit, and it was Florence was the one, as we talked about during the game, that opened up the game and it gave Sydney a bit of bounce off half back, and the clearance work improved. Sydney looked a lot more dangerous forward the ball, and their small forwards were very dangerous, and an area that St Kilda will have to pick up. But they bounced back, and Ross Lyon will be happy with the response. Having said that Sydney kicked 5-4 for that quarter, or 5-5, sorry.
The kicking efficiency, Spriggy, still in the mid to low 60s. So St Kilda 64, Sydney at 68, and the marks inside 50 in particular. So Sydney 30 entries for 3 marks. St Kilda even worse, 24 entries for 1 mark inside their forward 50.
Because I think we're finding both teams are getting back pretty hard defensively. So when they do come through, they're outnumbered going inside 50. The change that quarter was when the Swans were winning centre clearance. So you got 6v6, and I think that helped them actually get some better opportunities on the board. Wilkie has been one that's been fantastic for the Saints to get free across half-back and mop up a bit. What do you have, the 14 touches there through that first quarter?
Yeah, the story of the game has been the 80 turnovers. Was it 79, 40 to 39 turnovers. That's a game and
You've been in the coach's box. What's an acceptable number of turnovers?
25 plus, Matt. That's 25 minimum. Sorry, that's a huge number. That's 80 times. That's a lot of football in a footballer's hand. So, if you had 80 possessions as a footballer, that's a very, very good. That's 4 very good players. So you're turning the ball over and clearly both sets of teams didn't adjust to the conditions early. That number was a lot higher at quarter time. City went a lot straighter, a bit more composed in the second quarter, and clearly a better ball using Oliver Florent when he has it 19 times. A player like him, we saw his ability to use one on his left foot there and cut players up. That's what he can do. So you need your better players, but both sets of teams didn't come to play in that first quarter. I'm glad I went and got that coffee before the game started, because that first quarter was miserable.
How do you coach that Sato on the run, though? So they're not trying to turn the ball over. So what are you going and say, hey, can we use the ball a bit better? I mean, how do you actually do that in play to actually try and improve it?
I think the shift was they just went a bit more direct. Because early on, even from the back half, the Swans are very slow and going sideways. Now, if you're not going to hit your targets and you're going to turn the ball, just go direct. Especially if Buddy's up and about up forward and he's creating great contests. McLean's marking the ball strongly, and Papley's crumbing hard. Just get it direct, go straight and get the numbers there.
I've got a few things I want to come back to after news. Just a few texts to roll through quickly as well. 0437 774 774. Sydney by 9 points at the half. Your friend Marcus in South Melbourne saying these sides possibly the worst quarter of footy this year. Tyke, they're all in the Porter again. These two coaches have presided over some of the worst games in history, says Gary, against each other. Crikey, a total sleep fest. Aussie Rules needs to move on from this negative rubbish. That is hard.
There was a drawing game we played in, Jason. You would have played it at Etihad Stadium, and I can't remember the St Kilda player was running in towards an open goal. I think it was year 2000 or 2001, was it? And
early, yeah.
Early. So the other thing, the stat is Bud's played his 100, 200, 250 against St Kilda.
It's pretty impressive. It's a good stat.
Yeah, doing my research.
Done very well. Of course, 2 goals tonight for Lance Franklin so far. David in Tewkesbury, Tasmania. I like everyone who talks about it. Loves the 7 o'clock start on night games, not the late starts. Yeah, we talk about 7:20 starts on a Thursday versus 7:50 on a Friday. Of course, Eastern or local time. Keep your text coming. 0437 774 774. Sydney 5-5-35. St Kilda 4-2-26. It was the Saints by 7 points at quarter time, and Sydney by 9 points at the half. Quick cricket score. We've just lost Cameron Green for 6. So that means Australia now 5 for 376 with Steve Smith unbeaten 119. We lost Travis Healy for 163, and now Alex Carey joins Steve Smith. The Aussie wicketkeeper is on naught. Australia 5 for 376. Continued coverage on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the cricket toggle or button, and of course coverage later on if you're listening through regional Australia. You'll have analogue coverage on your radio coming up after the footy. In the meantime, half time at the Sydney Cricket Ground, the Swans by 9 points. Time for us to head to the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Glenn Lauder. The Attorney-General has outlined plans to ban Nazi hate symbols and the sale of goods featuring Nazi symbols. With a story, here's Phoebe Hosier.
This legislation has been sparked by a recent rise that we've seen in far-right extremist groups across Australia. Under this new legislation, symbols relating to Nazis and the SS will be outlawed, and that will include on flags, armbands and on T-shirts worn both in public or online. Doing so will carry a maximum penalty of up to 12 months in prison. The legislation has in fact fallen short of outlawing the Nazi salute. Some have said that more needs to be done to stamp out the root cause of white supremacy. The legislation will be introduced to Parliament from next week.
The ABC can reveal the CEO of the Tertiary Education Quality and Standards Agency, which regulates universities, has resigned. Alistair McLean was due to finish his term in 2025. But in a statement, TEXA Chair Peter Coldrakes confirmed Mr McLean's resignation and has acknowledged his contribution. Dr Mary Russell has been appointed acting CEO until Federal Education Minister Jason Clare appoints a long-term leader to head the powerful agency. The brother of a man killed near a gay beat in Sydney in 1988 says his family can finally move forward after his killer was sentenced. 52-year-old Scott Philip White was sentenced to 9 years in prison after pleading guilty to the manslaughter of American mathematician Scott Johnson. Scott Johnson's brother Steve says it's the end of a long judicial process.
This sentence means that this is over. A lot of people, a lot of work into getting us here today. I think our family's got some peace, and I would even say closure, that we won't be back here again talking about another appeal.
There are fears next month's energy price increases will only widen the divide between homeowners with access to solar power and renters. Advocates are pushing for solar panels to be made mandatory on rental properties to allow tenants to take advantage of offers also available to the wider population. Joel Dignam from advocacy group Better Renting says less than 5% of rental properties include solar energy.
It's been a gap for a long time, but I think now there's a lot of arguments that we need to start closing this gap. The higher energy prices, the big increases to other household costs of renters, but also the need to just get more clean energy into the grid, which can help to address some of the coal closures, for example, that are coming, but also just make sure that there's more supply and drive down wholesale prices too.
West Australia's major crime squad is investigating after a 28-year-old police officer was pinned under a vehicle during a pursuit in Perth's east. The constable was trying to detain the occupants of the vehicle in Ascot when the car reversed and he was caught beneath it and dragged along the road. The officer's partner managed to apprehend the people in the car before working with colleagues to free the injured policeman and resuscitate him. The constable's now in an induced coma in hospital. And WA's Police Commissioner Cole Blanche says an investigation is underway.
There's a long road ahead. The family's getting briefed by the medical practitioners. We've got major crime involved. We have major crash involved. We've got forensics out there. There is a significant investigation which will piece all of those details together.
At least 6 very young children have been stabbed in the French Alps town of Annecy. Police say the children, all around the age of 3, were stabbed in a park. At least 3 are said to be in a life-threatening condition. A man has been arrested in connection to the attack. Millions of people in North America have been advised to wear high-grade masks outdoors due to air pollution caused by intense wildfires in Canada. New York will begin distributing 1 million free masks from tomorrow. Much of the smoke is coming from the eastern province of Quebec, where more than 150 fires are burning. And back home, reptile experts say a virgin crocodile birth is miraculous, but not entirely surprising. The 18-year-old kept in captivity at a zoo in Costa Rica laid an egg with a fetus that was 99.9% genetically identical to itself. The so-called virgin birth has been found in species of other reptiles, but never crocodiles. Billy Collett from the Australian Reptile Park says it appears crocs are continuing to evolve while in captivity.
You've got to imagine reptiles have been around since before the dinosaurs, and they have just evolved into the most well-designed predators on the face of the planet. And this just goes to show another example why.
You've been listening to the latest from ABC News.
The brilliant minds from the Nation Building Authority are back.
Our fridge has got an address book. Got the lot. Has it got cold milk? Not yet.
And there's a lot to unpack.
Who's been asking?
We have.
What?
Us.
Who?
Me.
Why?
I'm lost again.
With Rob Sitch, Kitty Flanagan, Celia Paquola and the whole office.
This is in the cone of silence.
Under your hat. It's already on the radio.
All new Utopia.
What have these clowns been doing? Building for the future.
8 p.m. Wednesday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Franklin competes, no mark, falls down to Papley. Papley 52 out, unguarded, goal square, Dobson. What the game needed. Tom Papley with a bit of class on the run. And Sydney at last have their first of the game. It's taken 9 minutes into quarter number 2.
Warren here for the Sydney Swans. Walks around Butler, has room to move now. Sends it deep down the corner looking for Franklin. Leads up, second bite, third bite, pulls it in. And Buddy will take his kick from 35 out, slightly left of centre. He strikes it with the left boot with a goal to ascend to football's Rushmore of goal-kicking greatness. Goal number 1058. Lockett, Coventry, Dunstall and Franklin. And it'll be that for quite some time.
Goulden kicks it deep out of the middle. Hand on it from McLean. Spills through the way of the Swans again. It's Wicks. Top of the goal square. Bounces it through. Make it 5 in a row for Sydney. Onto his preferred right peg. Slide angle, 25 out. Butler serves up a couple in a row. And St Kilda shift a bit of momentum. 2 back for the Saints.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
The sounds of the second quarter at the Sydney Cricket Ground, where we get round 13 underway on this Thursday night. The Sydney Swans 5-5-35 to St Kilda 4-2-26. Brett Sprigg alongside Corbin Middlemass on Grandstand AFL. Our experts are Jason Staddington and Ty Kennelly, and Daniel Garb is on the boundary. If you're listening to the cricket via the ABC Listen app, you'll hear things such as this.
Shammy bowls, and he drives it, and he's caught its second slip. Good bowling. He got the ball up on a length. He went to drive, and he's edged it to Gillard's second slip. Well, there was an invitation to drive. I don't know whether Smith would have accepted it, but Green did. And it wasn't quite full enough. It had moved away. It took the edge. It was well held at second slip. Shammy gets an important breakthrough here. Green is out cheaply. Out for 6. Well caught about head height at second slip.
That was the last wicket to fall. Thank you, Jim Maxwell. Australia 5 for 382 early on day 2. Steve Smith still there at 120, and Alex Carey has joined him on 4. Travis Head dismissed for 163 as well. Caught behind off the bowling of Mohammad Siraj. The other wicket to fall this morning in that World Test Championship Day 2, Australia versus India. And you can find that right now on the ABC Listen app, or otherwise you'll hear it on analogue local radio in regional areas following the footy. Team news elsewhere as round 13 rolls on. The Bulldogs, of course, have got Port Adelaide tomorrow night. They made a couple of changes there. Alex Keith and Josh Bruce coming back in after stints in the VFL at the expense of Ryan Gardner and Tim O'Brien. Oscar Baker has also been dropped. Port Adelaide have recalled Charlie Dixon after he's had the quad injury. Travis Boak also back from 2 weeks out from a rib problem. Is also Hawthorn getting James Sicily back from suspension in their game against the Brisbane Lions on Saturday afternoon at the MCG. For West Coast, Jack Darling is back after only 3 weeks with a broken arm, and he's joined by Luke Shuey back from a hamstring, and Sam Petrevsky-Seaton among their inclusions. Fremantle has named Len Henry after Jager O'Meara's suspension, while Michael Walters, who has had a recent calf complaint, he's been named as a Fremantle emergency. The Tigers, Richmond in their game, in that game against the Dockers, have also recalled Nick Vlosten from a cork leg. And Peter Wright, a big inclusion for Essendon, to take on Carlton on Sunday afternoon or Sunday night in the Kings' birthday eve game. And the Blues have dropped Mark Pitnet and recalled Jack Martin, while Zach Fisher and Lockie O'Brien are also omissions as well. Those are just a few of the highlights as far as team news in round 13. And here it's the Sydney Swans who lead, by the way, at half-time by 9 points, 5-5-35 to 4-2-26. It is, of course, the annual Pride game. This match is an opportunity to listen, learn and highlight stories from the LGBTIQA community. And the overarching statement is that everyone is welcome at the football. Sydney and St Kilda have done this as an event, alternating hosting duties since 2016. And Corbin Middlemass, I'm just keen to ask you, I know you had Tom Harley speaking on Corbin and Ben earlier about the initiative which they and St Kilda have taken, but the importance of a Pride game in football. And I know people that are familiar with, I guess, your backstory as a young man being around football and around sport in that community, what it means to people and the importance of a thing like a Pride game.
It is important. It's super important to be able to have that visibility at the footy, because I know people, particularly in the month of June, it is Pride Month. They see every corporation change their logo to rainbows and they sort of roll their eyes and think, oh, here we go. It's some kind of woke virtue signalling event. But basically what it is, that the idea of having that kind of presentation, it immediately tells people from that community, look, this is a safe place. You're not going to hear sort of pejoratives yelled over the fence. And that isn't always the experience, it must be said, for people at the footy that are from sort of certain marginalised backgrounds, certainly in the LGBT community. But I think to try and give it a comparison, and this has been politicised so much on the back of the plebiscite, obviously a couple of years ago, so it became a social issue that very much became a political issue. But the Big Freeze, which is coming up on Monday, and we look at that as a whole footy community and we think, what an amazing initiative. This is Neil Danaher and the MND cause, and it's a health crisis, and we're doing our best to get together to support it. And that's exactly what it is really for LGBT young people in this country. So young people aged between 16 and 27 are 5 times more likely to have attempted suicide than their straight friends, than the broader population. 5 times. Between 16 and 27, which are our most sort of at-risk people trying to make their way in the world. And if you're transgender, it is 15 times more likely. So between the ages of 14 and 25, 15 times more likely than the average person. So to be able to have some of that visibility, particularly in sport, which is such a uniting place, brings everybody together. Unfortunately, we don't have sort of as much representation on the field or in footy, particularly for gay men like we do for gay women. But these two clubs have been a leader in this space for a long period of time now, and something which dates back 7 or 8 years.
The AFLW have had a Pride round the past couple of years. Netball do it as well. The A-Leagues did it for the first time just this year as well. Are we overdue for a Pride round in the competition, men's competition?
Oh, I don't think it could hurt. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly, I think if you approach it like that, approach it very much as a health crisis rather than the common lead about celebrating diversity and inclusion. I think if we just dig a little deeper, a lot more people will understand why we're doing it.
Well said, Corby. Thanks for your insight. Call the second half for us, please.
I'll do my best. Sydney by 9 points. Hopefully a little more of the second term and a little less of the first term is what we're hoping for, as Hickey wins the hit out to start the third quarter. Coming in off the square, Fox left it behind, off his backside, Windhager hands it out, Gresham just playing through it, umpire blindsided, got it out to Hill, hand pass to Steele, handball away to Phillippo, high half forward, kicks deep inside 50 for the Sainers, no mark waiting down Butler, short kick to King, who marks just outside the goal square. Gee, did he try and play on? No. The umpire's going to let him take his kick. Gee, I thought Max King was going to play on, and Francis was right on him in the goal square. And King's going to get a gift here to start the second half.
It was a great little left foot snap chip from Butler to hit King there in the square.
Death and taxes, less of a sure thing from there. Max King puts it up into the second deck. All of a sudden, it's 3 in a row for the Sainers, and we got a game. Max King with 2. We're just a minute into the third quarter, and Sydney's lead cut to 3. 5-5 to 5-2. Jason Saddington, Ty Kennelly.
Oh, with you there, Corb, but he was quite laconic with that Max King, wasn't he? He took the mark. It did look like he was prepared to just turn, have a look and go, oh, maybe I can just throw this on the boot. Oh, hang on, they've tackled me a little bit. And the umpire said, oh, look after you, mate. Go back and have your set shot. Terrific start.
It was. It looked like Oliver Front was going to swallow it up, but actually dropped the mark itself. And if you're in that part of the ground and you don't mark it or don't get a decent spot, and it was a nice throw, as we said.
It's a ripping throw.
Gresham, I think, and it was a nice crumb, but nice little touch. And we're just looking at the replay. Yeah, no, I don't think he did play on. I think it was Francis knocked the ball out, looking at the replay on the screen.
Interestingly, he marked the ball out of the goal square, and they gave him direct in front like he marked it in the goal square.
Crouch dispossessed in the middle. Robert on there for the Swans. Wrapped up in turn by Steele. The umpire will ball it up. Saints with 3 in a row either side of half-time. It goes Marshall down to Bradley Hill. That's solidly down there as well by Cunningham, and the umpire again will chuck it in the air.
Crouch probably under radar a little bit in the first quarter. He had the 16 touches. Didn't notice him too much. Skill efficiency. He's only 38% with his kicking. It's needs to pick that up for the Saints in the second.
Scam high.
2.5 played third term. Swans by just 3 points now. Sinclair first pair of hands out to Wanganeen Miller. Fires the hand pass through cleverly for Steele. Back to Sinclair. Pops the kick wide to the wing where it's marked by Phillippo. Works the hand pass forward, draws the player. It's off to Ross. Ross loads up inside 50 here. Down to a 3-on-3. King up in front. Got enough of it. Paid the mark. And he'll take his shot from 30 out on the 45-degree angle.
Just got to give him opportunities 1v1, St Kilda. And I was asking for that at half-time, thinking we've got to give this boy an opportunity 1v1, because He's great contest, great in the air, strong hands, and I gathered it from mine looking at the replay.
He had control of it just long enough, but he reached over the top of Francis, didn't it? It's great long arms, great reach.
King on the approach for his third tonight, and to restore St Kilda back to the lead. Off a couple of steps, he sprays it to the right. His third goal goes begging. And it's only a 2-point ball game here. The Swans still lead, 3.5 gone, third term.
They took one mark inside 50 from their first 24 entries, St Kilda, and they're 2 of 2 for this quarter. Both through Max King. Mixed results as Blakey out of the defensive arc tries to spear the kick to McInerney, and it's knocked away. Jack Steele finds a safety the boundary line eastern side, a throw in between wing and half forward for the Saints. Swans by 2.
A little bit of run and spread with the hands from the Saints so far to start this quarter from clearance.
From the throw-in, Marshall in front, wins it down. Ross paddles it out in front of him once, twice, and over the boundary line, a throw-in 60 out from the St Kilda goal. A 2-point lead for Sydney. They did lead by 20 points time on in the second quarter, and either side of half-time. St Kilda have kicked 3 unanswered goals.
White tosses it back in. Robinson was taken to ground by Ross. Loose ball picked up by Warner. Kicks up in the air. Arrives to McLean. Can't control it. Dispossessed again by Crouch. Holding the ball. Ray Crouch with the tackle. And he has the ball on the eastern wing here at the SCG. St Kilda control things here, but still trail by 2 points. Pops it back to Josh Battle. Reliable St Kilda swingman. Now short ball to Webster. Webster to Bradley Hill. Makes him work now. It's on the half volley. Hand pass back to Webster. Skids it wide to Wilkie. Pressure comes from Franklin. Wraps him up. Brings him to the ground. Laps up again. Ball comes loose here off the row bottom. Now the handball to Haywood. Umpire calls play on. Packley is loose. No, it's out of bounds on the floor. Playing on his feet on the boundary line, but it was too wide of him. Saints get the ball back again. Webster comes inboard to find Hill. No change to our score. Swans 5-5. St Kilda 5-3. 5.5 gone, quarter number 3.
Hill's told to go. Shares it with Webster, and then Hill a short kick to Sinclair. Sinclair punches his kick to centre half back. This is Ross. The Saints with a bit of pep in their step. Long kick out wide. Wood takes the mark. Eastern wing. Dangerous kick. Wanted Marshall. Didn't quite get to him. Broken up on the way through by Fox. Now Gordon's got it. Marshall grabs him, and a ball up Eastern wing. Sydney by a couple of points. 5.5 gone, third term.
Yeah, they looked sharper second half. St Kilda, they've come out of the rooms.
Hickey wins it to the outside here. Marshall follows up though. Skids a kick towards half forward. Owens held out of it by Cunningham. Under pressure now, Florent fires a hand pass through for Warner. He's got some dash in the middle of the SCG. High ball inside 50 towards Franklin, the one-on-one with Wilkie. Wilkie did well to distract him. Coming by Dougal Howard. Shares it back to Webster. Fires a hand pass for Battle. Nurses the kick up the line. It was over the head of Hill and also Lloyd. Out there though is Steele at left half back. Draws the player. Hand pass off to Caminiti. Gets rid of Blakey. Off here to Butler. And now Butler cops a nudge from Warner. His ball bounces out in front of Max King. Loose football pounced on by Robinson for the Swans. Still alive now for Florent. Blakey wrapped up by Butler as well. Umpire says no. That was a sling tackle. So Blakey is still on the ground here and Butler penalised. There'll be a Sydney ball on the commentary wing.
Even the umpire dropped that then as he played through it back to him. Slipped straight through his hands. Is he in trouble there, Butler?
One hand's out. He actually gets him side on really, then wraps him up. It was more of a bump tackle than anything else,
or
wasn't
a
it?
dumping tackle. Yeah, comes out here towards Rampy. Swans here by 2 points.
Lays it off to Fox and kicks down to half forward. Gordon's in the pack and flying too. McLean the most telling touch, knocks it back infield. Heaney's got it, tackled under pressure, feeds it back into traffic. McLean grabs it and Philippo's got him. The ball up. Half forward for the Swans.
It's such a tough one now, the tackle. If there's a bit of momentum and you tackle them, they hit the ground. It's almost every time. It's a bit risky, isn't it?
Looks holding the ball for 150 years, and now he all of a sudden will sweat on the result from the MRO.
Now it's suspendable.
Blakey's head sort of bounced off the turf. Appears to be okay for the time being. Blakey staying out there. The Saints keep it out of their defensive 50, but only momentarily. No, it is staying out, and Owens is getting the free. one-on-one contest against Cunningham for a little shove.
And I know what's going to happen. Players will stop playing for this piece as well. You know, they'll start going, well, I'm going to get a free kick here, drop in, but even the one bloke that's getting tackled, drop in and get hit to the ground, and you're going to get the free kick. Clearly, Blakey knew he was holding the ball there.
To the outer side, Sheldrick sends it back towards half forward here. Knocked down by Wilkie to Sinclair. Saints have numbers in defence here. Owens back to Jack Sinclair through traffic. Trying to volley it out of the air here towards the wing. It's picked up by Heaney of the Swans. And now McInerney is dumped as well, this time by Ross. And the umpire says, give it to me. Sydney by 2 points. 5-5-35 plays 5-3-33. 8.5 gone here in this third quarter on Grandstand AFL. Down here for Wood. Heaney's on him straight away. Comes in the ground. Umpire watching. Says, let's ball it up.
So in the Butler case, did he sling, drive or dump him to the ground?
Drive for mine, and it was more of a momentum. He went to bump, and Blakey was side on, and he's had his left hand out when he actually hit the ground. So
he had a defensive arm out?
He had an arm off.
So that's okay. His head hit the ground, yes. And he did dump him to the ground.
It was a drive.
Drive. Yep. Yeah. So 2 of the 3 boxes are probably ticked. And yet everybody in the ground saw it and thought it was holding the ball. DeAndre throwing out on that eastern wing. Picked up by McInerney, had it, lost it. Spills to Sinclair. As we often see, latter stages of the game, makes his way onto the ball and gets a clearance there. Kicks it forward to Gresham. Takes the mark, hand pass to Filippo. Deep entry, inside 50. Juggled effort, kick, no mark. Gets up, grabs it for St Kilda. Hands it off to Owens, who hooks a kick goalward, and through it goes. Owens, the Saints take back the lead. Mitch Owens makes it 4 in a row for St Kilda. And the Saints lead by 4. 10 gone third term. 6-3-39. Sydney 5-5-35. Jason Saddington, Ty Kennelly.
Sinclair, great work from the stoppers who called the corps. You know, his ability to get the ball out, and he worked right. But it's been all St Kilda really since second half started. Really, they've come out with a lot more pep in their step, and we created a contest. We asked for that 1v1 for King. He's creating some havoc forward of the ball for St Kilda, and just that he looks dangerous every time it goes to him. And Sydney are trying to get a man across. In that instant it was Fox, and he left his man, but Owens is the one who started. Has had a really good game and some just reward for fantastic work rate throughout the 2.5 quarters. Owens, that is.
Owens the Saints, that is gold.
Machito on the board. St Kilda by 4 points from the restart. Warner wins the clearance here for the Swans. Tumbles it inside forward 50. Hayward sticks out the back heel. Tangled up down there with Howard. They pile him from all angles, and the umpire will ball it up. 35 out from Sydney's goal. Randwick end. Matt Nichols, the umpire, who recently passed 400 games a couple of weeks ago. It goes Marshall down to Patley for the Swans. Sinclair trying to tap it away here towards Ross, but Childrick got there first for Sydney. Hand pass out in space now. Patley goes to track it. Shares it with Melican. His kick was partly smothered, I reckon, by Butler. The umpire saw that, so it's touch ball out for a throw-in inside 50 for Sydney at that southern end of the SCG. St Kilda 6-3, plays Sydney 5-5, 11 gone here in the third term.
Mentioned earlier, a real game of runs. Sydney hadn't scored until the 10-minute mark of the second quarter, then kicked 5 in a quick outburst. And now St Kilda with the last 4 from the boundary throw-in half forward for the Swans. Patley through traffic. Hand pass ended up with Higgins. He was tackled as soon as he got it. Ball falls through to the Swans. Blakey had it. And then Goulden tackled illegally, pushed in the back, and a free kick for Errol.
Well, was Blakey's tackle there a bit of a drive?
Filippo into the back of Errol Goulden, and he'll get the free centre half forward. He's a long kick of the footy, and the man on the mark just a step inside the 50.
Quiet night so far for Errol. 9 touches. He's been a fantastic player this year, and he's got a lot of talent. Not a lot of balls so far tonight.
One of the fastest rising stars in the game, and he can do things like that. Kicks a cannon off his preferred left peg, sails straight through, and the Swans snatch back the lead. Lead change number 3. Sydney by a couple of points, 6-5 to 6-3, 12 gone, third turn.
Yeah, the lead change, and here comes Sydney's momentum. If it's anything with the pattern of the games, what's happened with St Kilda, obviously trying out of the blocks, then Sydney get their chance, St Kilda got their chance, and now Sydney's got to kick a couple in a row, and that's been the pattern of the game. So St Kilda want to try and get their hands on the ball, just in a bounce. And a nice response and a nice finish. As we know, he knows what his goals are, Errol, and it has been quite, but might get him going here.
He's just a pure kick of the footy, isn't he? Grew up here in Sydney and Swans Academy, born and bred. Him and Braden Campbell played a boatload of footy together in juniors. Daniel Garb on the boundary. Garby.
Jack Steele's just come back on the ground. He's an interesting watch at the moment for a Saints. Only 8 disposals in the first half, 4 in this quarter, but little handballs. His knee is heavily strapped. The word is that he came back from that injury he had early in the season, maybe a little bit too early, spent a lot of time on the bench, so he's trying to work through it, but it seems to be hindering him a bit.
Thank you, Garby. Swans by 2 points. Off far forward. Hand pass comes back to Errol Goulden. 65 out, straightens up looking for Buddy at the top of the square. In the contest with Wilkie, it's knocked out of into the behind line here for a rush behind by Mason Wood. He tries to kick out quickly. Closing late was McNamee that time on Steele. And now off to Higgins. Some run going here with the Saints. Higgins hand pass little 1-2 here with Crouch. Goes the fend on Campbell. Caught by Campbell again. Umpire says it was away. Got the disposal away. Saints go forward of halfway. Up goes Francis. Got the sit. Couldn't quite pull it down. And it's off by hand pass to McNamee. He was run down from behind though. Great second effort it was by Butler. Trickles towards half forward here. They pile in the ball up. 55 out from St Kilda's goal. Paddington end. It's the Swans who lead by 3 points. 22 plays 39. 14 gone third term.
Chucks it up. Marshall wins it down. Squeezing a kick out himself, Marshall, after getting the clearance inside the attacking 50, but Cunningham there. Repels for the Swans. Campbell got to go. Flies in a pack of a couple of Saints. No mark, but knocks it out of bounds. Along with you, Braden Campbell, all of a sudden starting to become a real nice player. I know he's a top first-round pick, top 10 pick, but having a hell of a season.
Yeah, and they need to find a position for him. I think they've played him half forward. In the last few weeks he's been that half forward. He's got speed, he's tough inside, got damaging left foot, and he looks a lot more comfortable this year than ever. His highlights package is going to be unbelievable when his career is finished.
Boundary throw-in comes out on the wing to Sheldrick. Hand pass away to Warner. Rush the kick. Immediately put his hands on his head as it floats over the fence and out on the full. Sydney by 3, 15 gone. Third term, 6-6 to 6-3. We've had 3 lead changes in the game, 2 in this quarter alone.
Up it comes toward the other side. Running start from Marshall. He was 3 deep. At the drop, Windhager hands it back to Wood. Off the run of Higgins. Crouch involved as well. Fires the hand pass back to Steele. Comes wide to half forward. Going inside 50, Gresham takes a simple mark here. 35 out, slightly right of centre.
Just a chain of forward handballs from St Kilda from the stoppage. They were able to get it forward, players on the run, keep rolling the ball forward by hands, and eventually they got their way through. A lovely little hit up inside 50 from Marshall.
That's a couple of them now where they've scrambled the far wing and they've gone from a stoppage situation or scrambled situation with that forward hand and exposed Sydney 1v1 forward of the ball.
Free agent Jade Gresham. The club's looking for his services from next year onwards. To return St Kilda back to the lead here. From 40 with a set shot, he pushes it wide to the left-hand side. Nice score. Swans are 6-6-42. St Kilda 6-4-40. 16 go on third quarter here on ABC Sport. This is Grandstand AFL.
And nice to have Dane Rampy back, the co-captain for the Swans. Last seen back in round 4. Goes on a run and kicks out wide to Franklin. Caught at the back of the pack. Goulden burrows in. Was he taken high on the way through? The members thought so. Umpire doesn't pay a free. McLean picks up the footy, jams it onto Franklin's chest, bounces off it. Pack forms. Franklin ushers it out the back door. Saints with the numbers on the wing though. Hill to Ross by hand. Handball to Wilkie. Handball away to Stocker. A little fumble. Put him under the pump. Goes on a run through traffic. Gives it to Battle. He's caught. Swans with numbers around the footy. Still the Saints somehow with it. Owens, handball back to Hill. He's tackled. Ball spits out. Swans win it. Here's Fox. Runs and carries. Kicks out wide. 2 wide. Sliding into the fence goes Hayward. He's okay. Free kick for St Kilda at half back, and it'll be Kel Wilkie to take it. Swans by 2 points. 17 gone. Third term. 6-6 to 6-4. At least it's close. Dougal Howard, in fact, is going to get the free.
Back across the face for Battle. Ball to play on now. Has a bounce from fullback. Again, draws the man Papley, works it away to Webster. Little 1-2, back to Battle, and now under pressure is Crouch. Closing in fast with McNamee, and that's out of bounds for a throw-in. So Crouch just couldn't grab the footy. We've seen skill errors from both sides tonight.
We're back to a bit of the first quarter, aren't we? the last 3 or 4 minutes of play and overusing the ball by hand there. St Kilda, they look better when they've used it by foot and gone long and kept it simple.
Yes, it's close. Sydney by 2. Back in it comes. Owens down to the right, gathers. He's wrapped up there and turned by McLean. Loose ball here, comes wide. The Heaney just thumps it inside forward 50, and Howard again tracks it towards the boundary line for a throw-in deep at the left forward pocket zone for the Swans. 6-6 plays 6-4, 18 go in third quarter.
Both sets of teams are happy to have an extra defender, and that's why obviously we're looking at the difficulty for forwards to score and get some space. And you see Rampy at one end and it's Wilkie at the other end that are clogging the space.
McLean wins it down to Patley, kick smothered, ricochets back into traffic. Clark puts his head over it and he's taken high. Falling over the top, Wanganeen Miller gives away the free, and Ryan Clark, the famous number 4 on his back, will have a set shot, 35 out, get in front.
He's certainly not like the forwards that have worn that jumper as far as kicking set shots are concerned in front of goal.
Ben Matthews.
Benny was dead-eyed when he had his one shot, but
I'm not sure how Plugger would have gone trying to get into Ryan Clark's jumper. Very different sizing, I'm sure. As Ryan Clark, long run up, skips in, drop punt is pure. Just like Plugger would have done. Straight through the middle. The Sydney number 4. And the Swans extend their lead to 8. 19 gone third term, 7-6 to 6-4. Ty Kennelly, how could you possibly doubt it?
Pure. Pure and straight. I actually missed the free kick itself and what happened.
Well, I think you're right, Ty, in terms of the context of the game. It's a bit of an arm wrestle, and both teams are quite happy for it to be that way. Hang in there, the close game, Spriggy and Corbin that you guys are calling. Both teams are quite comfortable with that. And then wait until the last quarter and let's try and open it up and get the win. And just take the opportunities that you can when you are getting some shots on goal, and obviously Clark was able to do that.
Probably where their seasons are at, really, as far as the St Kilda started when the Swans are just getting over the line and wins, and St Kilda obviously the bad one that they've had currently.
Tyke and Elliott, Jason Staddington, your experts on Grandstand AFL. The time on here in the third term. St Kilda win the clearance through Sinclair. High ball inside 50. Francis tangled up down there with Owens, running by Florent in defence, mops it up. He'll switch with a high kick across the half-back line. That's marked by Crouch. Dropped right in the hole, takes a simple mark, 52 out. And he'll assess the options here at a slight angle to the left. Former Crow sends it down the corridor now. Wants that flyer. At the back was Caminiti. And also there was Wood, but Campbell. It's off hands and he runs it over for a throw-in.
You probably take that on that entry, just a stoppage in your forward pocket. Swans a lot of numbers back, not a lot of movement, nothing really to go to. Boundary throw-in's not a bad result.
Bit of movement on the bench there, Garvey.
Gets down to Garvey very shortly as comes back in. Shucked by Higgins for the Saints. Off to Jack Steele. Throws it on the boot from the right forward pocket. High in the air it goes. It's fisted away by Melican over for a throw-in at right full forward. Daniel Garb on the boundary.
So the Swans are making their substitute. Nick Blakey is the player who is leaving the ground. Joel Amati warming up now. So the Swans are making that sub. That's a big player to exit the game for the Swans. And Nick Blakey, who's been struggling with that ankle injury since the opening stages of the first quarter.
Thanks, Garby, from the boundary throw-in. Caminiti wins it down, but straight to Warner of the Swans. Hand pass out wide. Steele sliding through, keeps it alive for the Saints. Handball ends up with Rowbottom. He grabs it for the Swans. Hand pass to Sheldrick. Tumbles a kick along the boundary line. Makes 40 metres, but it's deliberate. Insufficient intent to keep that in from Angus Sheldrick, and a free kick for the Saints. Stocker to take it between wing and half forward. He can just bang it back deep inside 50. Paddington and flying Francis, no mark. Falls to Caminiti. Hot handball to Gresham. His hand pass a turnover. And Campbell can just float a high bomb out wide, close to that eastern boundary line. Late arriving McLean knocks it over the boundary, and we'll have a throw in here between wing and half forward for the Saints. Nice bit of work to force a neutral ball. So just repeating what Garvey's told us, Nick Blakey subbed out, had an ankle complaint for most of the night, and Joel Amati about to get a little bigger. The Swans with him coming into the game.
Sydney by 8 points, 22 gone third term. Clark met by Wood, wraps him up, gets rid of it though with a hurried kick. Only as far as Sinclair though. Hand pass back to Crouch for St Kilda. High inside 50. They get set. Higgins it up there as well. Burns rives it. His handball goes straight to Rampy. Now Campbell. Swans with numbers in defence. Rampy shrugs the tackle out there of Higgins. And now Clark goes to clear. Sends it back from whence it came towards the flank, and it takes a left turn. Goes out of bounds for a throw-in. between wing and half forward on the eastern side of the SCG. Sydney 7-6, 48, St Kilda 6-4, 40. And Cole throw it back in.
Just watching the replay of the tackle again on Blakey, and he actually come back up off the tackle Butler before he hit the ground.
Campbell breaks the Sinclair tackle. High to the one-on-one. Dougal Howard down there with McLean, again towards the boundary line, and the Saints defender sees it out of bounds for a throw-in. Daniel Garb on the boundary.
Yeah, so Nick Blakey actually hit his head on the turf after a tackle, so he may be struggling with the head knock, and that could be the reason why he's been subbed out of the game, but the ankle injury was an issue for him as well. Either way, he's out. If it is concussion, though, then obviously he misses next week.
And that's bad news for Dan Butler as well. So that was that heavy tackle in the middle of the ground. Butler gave away a free kick, so the umpire awake to it on the spot. Blakey's head bouncing off the ground. So, yeah, that's not good for Dan Butler, not good for Nick Blakey.
So, Tog, with Amati coming on, do you think that makes a shift or a change to what the Swans are doing with their ball movement, or a structural change?
Oh, well, it's going to put three talls forward of the ball from now, you'd think, with obviously McLean, Franklin and Amati. At the moment, you've got Fox in the ruck. You see him here.
He was outpointed, but follows up, forces a turnover. Forward pocket, Rowbottom slides in, tries to usher it out. Fox taps it on to Patley. This is usually his goal against the boundary line. Retreats back to Campbell. And the young rising Sydney star takes the mark left half forward. He thinks he's got it in his long left
he can roost it. Corbs, he can roost at 70, this boy, but also the adjustment's going to be with Jake Lloyd, who's been playing the majority on the wing. Is going to have to go back at half back, and we'll probably bring up Braden Campbell onto the wing.
Marty getting his night started. He cheers for him as he runs back on.
Crowd favourite.
And Braden Campbell with a long-range left peg. Distance not at all an issue. Ends up in the cheer squad, but just a little off target. Misses near side. We haven't had a single goal answered all night. First two for the Saints, next five for Swans, four for St Kilda, and now the last two for Sydney. And we've got the momentum at the moment. Swans by 9 as we tick towards three-quarter time. 25 gone in the turn.
Wilkie in the right back pocket. Just pops it beyond defensive 50. Up they go. Owens crashes to the ground here. Sheldrick, though, wins the loose football. Tried to stick out the boot here, but the Saints can rebound. Away it comes across half forward. Filippo gets up there, wins at the ground here for Burns, slips the bottom tackle. Handball goes nowhere. They're only as far as Campbell. Under pressure he was from Crouch. They go inside forward 50 here. That rolling maul again here at the Swans attacking area. And the ball up 40 out from Sydney's goal. Randwick end. Swans by 9 points. 7-7 plays 6-4. 25 gone, quarter number 3.
Up it goes. Marshall wins it down. Rowbottom grabs the footy. Hurried kick goalward. Got a fair piece of it. Franklin and Battle compete on the line. Bounces off them both and through for a minor score. Swans by 10. Momentum with Sydney at the moment. Remember the Port Adelaide game, there was sort of clearly a scoring end here. It hasn't been sort of quite the same tonight, despite the runs that both teams have been on. They have sort of overlapped quarters.
And then Miller, a little 1-2 there with Howards. Comes beyond defensive 50. Pressure from Warner on Burns. Wins the football as Chad. Hand pass inboard for Wicks, who can close from 30 and miss to the right-hand side. Everything but the finish for the Swans to extend their lead, but only by 1. It's out to 11 points. 51 plays 40, 26 gone here in the third quarter.
Bit of a let-off there. The very kickable goal from the Swans. Poor turnover from, I think it was Wangani Malera, trying to hit up a really short 50-50 kick across half-back. Definitely not the option that was on. They get away with it.
8 goals to the Paddington end, 5 goals to the Randwick end. Sydney to the Randwick end at the moment in the latter stages of this third term as Wangani Miller goes longer here after the mishap previous. Campbell wins it back but falls over. Hand pass a turnover. Wood can get St Kilda up into the front half. Goes long. Melican and Gresham in a tangle. Says play on. Scrapping for it. Rampy tackled by King. Ball spits out. Steele had it. Lost it for the Saints. Overrunning it is Wood. Left it behind. Rowbottom scoops it up. Handball away to Braden Campbell. Eastern wing. Long kick inside 50. Wilkie leads Franklin to the footy. Franklin forced to spoil. And finds the safety of the boundary line and a throw in inside 50 for the Swans. Sydney by 11 points, 7-9 to 6-4 as we close in on three-quarter time.
Reading Blakey subbed out for the Swans. Joel Amati subbed in this third quarter. And it comes Marshall opposed to Fox. Smaller ruck option as Sinclair goes in hard now for St Kilda. Marshall again up Robbie Fox and all up 50 out from the Sydney goal. Ball in the air. Fox and Marshall again do the ruck work. Sinclair was solely by Warner, brings him to ground. The ball up again.
Still that arm wrestle, stalemate, long down the line type setup at the moment, both teams. Nothing free-flowing.
Marshall wins it down to Stealing, misses another target, this time by hand. Hand pass and turnover. Malikins, his kick smothered, spills to Campbell. Hurried kick forward, puts it out on the full. We witnessed probably the worst quarter of footy you've seen all season to start the night. We had a goal to Filippo in the first 5 minutes, and that was it. Swans were scoreless until 10 minutes into the second quarter as a long kick from Battle goes down the line and out of play on that eastern wing. From that point on, second quarter was pretty good. Third quarter started okay, and it's just come off a little bit in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, it really does look like both teams happy to just get to that three-quarter time and then make some changes the way they want to play and take it on a little bit more.
Well, both sets of teams now got +1 behind the ball also, Jason.
Yep.
29 gone in the quarter. Boundary throw in. Warner with a bit of class. Bursts through. Collects. Kicks deep. Franklin outnumbered. And beaten as Howard gets back. Knocks it through for a behind. Sydney now lead it by 2 goals neat. 7-10 to 6-4. 12-point lead for the Swans. 29 gone in this third quarter.
The crowd, I've never seen the Mexican wave at the footy for a while. Third quarter, they're into it. They want some entertainment.
Soccer. It's beyond defensive 50. It's marked on the outer side. Windhager. So this is the options. Right half back to Stocker, who takes the chest mark. And just flare it across the half back line. Won't Miller. So again, the pace out of the game here as the Saints go forward. It's a hand pass back to Wilkie. Try to go towards areas forward of the wing where Burns was held by Gordon. Kick here for Ryan Burns. In fact, he's born in Sydney, I believe. Nothing. Goes inside forward 50. 40 out from St Kilda's attacking goal. King goes up there. Sinclair roving. Breaks the tackle. Owens for support. Overruns the football. Florent can rebound here for the Swans. On the bounce, it skids out towards Wicks. He can just slap it out towards Rampy. Ahead of the football. He's lost it as well. Knocks it clear of defensive 50 here. Burns goes in for St Kilda. Lost as well out the back by Windhager, who keeps it alive under pressure from Wicks. Back to Burns, just slaps that ball on his boot. High inside forward, 50. King brings it down. Has he paid the mark? No. It comes back to the pocket again. Rampy met Crouch head on. It comes back to the corridor and Butler gets up and marks. Nice work it was from Higgins up against the boundary line. Finds the marking target, and Butler, his fellow former Tiger, takes the chest mark, 35 out on the 45-degree angle.
Nothing pretty about any of that play, but sometimes you just get that scrap kick forward. You know, you might have a player in the right position and a bit of luck, whatever you call it, but Butler happened to be there to take the mark. Gee, I thought Max King could have been paid the mark not long just before. They probably had more of it than he did the mark that was paid earlier.
2 goals, 2 against the Hawks before the bye. He's with a couple here tonight, Dan Butler. And he sparks the Saints again as we approach three-quarter time. Margin back to a clean kick. Sydney 7-10-52. St Kilda 7-4-46. 31 gone in the third term here on Grandstand AFL via ABC Sport.
Yeah, nice finish, wasn't it? You know, he's looked dangerous all night with his pressure, and clearly he's going to be the story of the match from Blakey in his tackle. But nicely done also by Higgins with the kick. You know, just keeping the ball alive in your front half. You don't know what's going to happen. It did look like King had taken the mark itself, but you know, he's the bones of 35-40 out there, Butler, at an angle, and that's very hard to do. And they often hit the belly of the ball, and just looking at the screen, and John Longmire is not happy at all with his defence. He's looking quite animated on the screen, and so he should, because Sydney really dominated the quarter as such in the front half without the reward, and only going to go in 6 points up.
They kicked 4 consecutive behinds for Swans, and then St Kilda completely against the trend as Tig outlined. Down the other end to get one right before three-quarter time. Game back on. 6-point lead for Sydney as Florent gets the centre clearance right on the three-quarter time siren. So the Swans 7-10, St Kilda 7-4. 6-point lead for the Swans. The goal kicker's Spriggy. Tapley's got a couple, 2 for Franklin. And then singles for Clark, Gordon and Wicks. Meanwhile for St Kilda, 2 each for Max King and Dan Butler, and then singles for Owens, Filippo and Caminiti. the big talking point really in the game is not just Lance Franklin kicking a couple of goals and going past Doug Wade into outright fourth, but the incident with Nick Blakey and Dan Butler looked like he was caught holding the ball, looked like he was gone. Everyone thought he'd been pinged. The umpire said that's a dangerous tackle. What was the terminology we're going with? He was driven into the ground.
Driving tackle.
Driven into the ground. He'd have one arm free, had his left arm free, but his head bounced off the ground. Seemingly he's been subbed out with suspected concussion, so that's not only a free kick on the spot, but could spell some bad news for Dan Butler.
Dan Gard, down to you quickly.
Yeah, it could still be trouble for Dan Butler, but watching Nick Blakey come back from the room, he didn't seem to be too bothered. He seemed actually in really good spirits. Now watching him, he's joined his teammates in the middle of the ground. The limp is pronounced, so it looks like that ankle is still bothering him. Maybe that's the reason. He doesn't seem to have any impact at the moment from that head knock. Of course, we can never quite tell, but he seems to be okay. It's the ankle that is visibly disturbing him at the moment, so maybe that could save Dan Butler. It's unclear at this stage.
Thank you, Garvey. More from you and from us shortly. ABC Radio, News Radio, and via the ABC Listen app. This is Grandstand AFL.
What's the best thing in the world that's also on the ABC Listen app? The footy! This season, get your footy live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app.
Right through for a goal.
AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever you fix, we've got you covered.
She's got it. Bye-bye. See you later.
Every goal, try, mark and tackle. Called by ABC Sports' expert commentary team.
Set. Bingo.
AFL and NRL, live and ad-free. Get it on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Waiting down Butler, short kick to King, who marks just outside the goal square. Gee, did he try and play on? No. The umpire's going to let him take his kick. Gee, I thought Max King was going to play on, and Francis was right on him in the goal square. Death and taxes, less of a sure thing from there. Max King puts it up into the second deck. All of a sudden, it's 3 in a row for the Saints, and we've got a game. Hand pass to Philippo, deep entry, inside 50, juggled effort, kick, no mark, gets up, grabs it for St Kilda, hands it off to Owens, who hooks a kick goalward, and through it goes. Owens, the Saints take back the lead. Mitch Owens makes it 4 in a row for St Kilda. Ball falls through to the Swans. Blakey had it. And then Goulding tackled illegally, pushed in the back, and a free kick for Errol. One of the fastest rising stars in the game, and he can do things like that. Kicks a cannon off his preferred left peg, sails straight through, and the Swans snatch back the lead.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital,
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
The margin has not gone beyond 20 points all night. That was off the back of Sydney's scoring surge of 5 straight goals in the second term after a rather lacklustre first quarter. Currently three-quarter time here at the SCG. The Swans are 7-10-52, St Kilda 7-4-46. Hope you're enjoying this football, this Thursday night football on Grandstand AFL. All single-figure margins at the breaks as well. The Saints by 7 points at quarter time, Sydney by 9 points at the half, and 6 points is the home side's lead at the final change. Meanwhile, the cricket, we've lost a couple of wickets. The Australian Steve Smith out for 121 after his 31st Test century. I mentioned Cameron Green out for 6 earlier as well, and Mitchell Starc just fell a short time ago, run out for 5. So Alex Carey is on 14, Pat Cummins on 0. Australia now 7 for 402, batting first just inside the first session on day 2 in the World Test Championship at the Oval against India. Coverage of that happening right now via the ABC Listen app. Just look for the cricket button or cricket toggle. Otherwise, if you're listening through regional areas, you can have that on analogue local radio in about an hour and 15 minutes time. We'll take you there for that. If you're listening through metropolitan areas, it's simple. ABC Radio Sport or via the ABC Listen app to find that. Otherwise, game on here. Swans by 6 points. Your experts are Ty Kennelly and Jason Saddington.
I feel like, Ty, that this game's probably in a position where the coaches actually have some influence in what's going to play out, because the style at the moment, it's a bit of an arm wrestle because both teams are playing, a number behind the ball, the +1, whatever you want to call it, getting numbers high when the oppo's got the ball. So it is becoming this real arm wrestle. It's hard to get some ball movement going and get the flow through. So the coaches tactically have the game set up to be that more defensive style of the game. That's why we're not seeing some high scoring. So who's going to relent, or are both coaches going to keep this tactic going? When the Swans with the 6-point lead.
For that? Is that the Swans or the Saints or both?
I think it's both.
Both. And knowing both coaches, they will not change.
So they won't relent.
We're not in for a great quarter of football. I'll tell you, it's going to be tight. It's going to be a great spectacle as far as who's going to win it. Sydney have dominated the clearances, but as far as brought into the ground, it's very hard to score because it's +1 back there. Both sets of coaches had a huge imprint on how this game is being played, and it's probably known, and obviously the two coaches have defensively mindset.
So is that when it comes down the last 5 minutes, if you're behind, you're going to go, okay, let's make the change to try and get across the line here?
You mentioned the Saints haven't won here against the Swans since 2009. Of course, the St Kilda coach that year, Ross Lyon. And he's back. So are the Saints back as far as their form in the Harbour City against the Sydney Swans? Well, it's only 6 points.
Yeah, give King the opportunity. Give King the 1v1 opportunity. He's probably the one that just dropped the mark just before we probably could have been given. He's the one that looks extremely dangerous forward of the ball.
Even Butler and Gresham at ground level, I'd like to see them, get it in there and maybe a little bit quicker if they can.
Crouch leads all comers with 26 disposals, 23 for Sinclair, and Florent has the most for the Swans, 23 touches to three-quarter time for him. Into the final turn we go on Grandstand AFL. As Steele gets the hand pass back to Gresham, and the Saints can clear towards half forward. Strong chest mark taken by Mitch Owens. And he plays on now. 60 from goal. Pops it high to the pocket. King back there with the flight, has 2 to beat. Patley coming the other way. Butler tries to soccer it away as well. McAnee sticks out the boot as well. It's soccer defensively here by Florent back to the goal line. It's rushed through. Patley was trying to save the rush behind somehow as well, but it's a minor score only as far as St Kilda is concerned. 7-5-47, Sydney 7-10-52, and seeing England will probably coming up as well for that 2-on-1 contest.
He just landed awkwardly on his side in the marking contest. Still sucking in the air.
It might be winded. He doesn't look too healthy, does he? It's trying to get the wind in.
1 to start the second quarter, 1 in the third term, Max King. He's 2 tonight as Lloyd outside the goal square and then long up with the wing. Amati to target. Battle knocks it away from him down to Gresham. Gresham flying shot unguarded. Goal square needs the bounce. Doesn't get it. Necessary for a minor score. So a couple of behinds to start the final term for the Saints. Sydney's lead is 4 points. 70 seconds go on final quarter.
Florent had that round 4 shot after the siren, of course. Speaking of close games against Port Adelaide. He finds McLean, who slides it on the outer side.
It's a St Kilda runner, by the way, that's whistling.
Yeah, he's trying to call King off.
Lloyd, hand pass out wide to Cunningham. Works it up the line here. McAnee off a couple of steps. The kick is wide and picky, and as a result, it's touched. Not out of bounds in the full, so they live to fight on here, the Swans. Right back in front of the Dalian stand in front of the scoreboard. 2.5 minutes played in the opening, in the final term, we could partner. Seeing Max King come off the ground. Sydney by 4 points here.
And then they've overruled it, Spring.
So it's going to be out of bounds before.
You caught it on the spot, and in the end, we had a little conference, and as they say, the umpire never changed his decision, and he did.
There we go.
When we used to play the Bulldogs, just to the whistle point, Ben Graham used to be on the bench, just whistling and whistling and whistling consistently for the Bulldogs to get players. It was such a pain.
Wanganeen Miller hits up Steele, hands it off to Sinclair. He goes to the wing. Melican outnumbered, but does well to win contest in a 2-on-1, forces it out of play. We'll have a throw in on that eastern wing.
What, like a farmer calling his cattle on?
Yeah, especially at 88 under the roof, obviously. Or
reverberates.
Reminds Marvel.
Ty Kennelly at a nightclub.
4-point lead for the Bloods. 7-10 to 7-6, 3 gone final term.
There were good days in my sandals, Jason.
Boundary
White
throwing.
socks on.
Marshall wins it down to Rowbottom. His kick just trickles away, and in the end it's socket straight to Sinclair, who takes the mark inside the centre square, kicks to centre half forward. Caminiti hits up, no mark, falls to Gresham. Hand pass over the head of Filippo. Centre half forward, Higgins crashes through. Heaney's got him. Higgins trying to get a kick away. Ball came out. Up was happy with that. Butler hands it to Marshall, gives it to Wanganeen Miller. High kick inside 50, and Francis back to take the intercept mark. Last line of defence. Sydney Swans by 4 points. We've had 3 lead changes, 2 of them in the third term. We've now gone 3.5 minutes in the last.
I just call him Nope Francis. Denying the entry that time for St Kilda, goes out to the outer side, and it's marked though by Marshall. Takes a chest mark to intercept. It's inboard now for Wanganeen Miller. Swing across the half-back line now for Webster. Tasmanian from Glenorchy. Called a play on around a Marty, the sub. Made it in the third term for Nick Blakey. Sydney Saints keep possession now again to Wanganeen Miller. Steps up his line around Clark. Umpire calls play on. Short ball goes straight to Heaney. Turned over again. Heaney off his line as well, called to play on. Skids it towards half forward. But Webster gathers. Handball off to Sinclair. Back to Howard. He tracks all the way back inside defensive 50 for Wilkie at fullback.
Wilkie short to Sinclair. Really seen him through the midfield so far tonight. Maybe in this final term as he gets a kick away out wide to Bradley Hill in front of the ladies' stand. Pulls the trigger and board. It turns out okay and Crouch takes the mark. Logo broadcast win. Sydney by 4. St Kilda trying to win here for the first time in 14 years. Crouch down to half forward. Arriving late is Owens and takes the pack mark. On a night when no one's been able to clunk anything. We've seen skill errors everywhere, and now Goulden didn't come back on the mark, and he's going to pay an enormous penalty. It's 50 metres, and Owens is going from outside 50 to the top of the goal square.
Been the best forward on the field, hasn't he?
He's marked the ball well.
Marked it well, and well, you think John Longmore blew the gasket 10 minutes ago. Watch him now.
Owens kicks it from the top of the goal square, an absolute gift. Goulden didn't come back. And as a result, the lead is gone. Owens returns St Kilda to the front. 4th lead change of the night. 5 gone final term, 8-6 to 7-10. Owens with a couple.
And Goulden, almost playing there. Well, I didn't hear anything. That's why I haven't come back. He looked quite baffled that the 50 was paid, but obviously the umpire was calling him back. He just couldn't hear it. And that's, big 50-metre penalty. Saints, big goal.
There's a bit of activity down there as well, Garvey, and St Kilda's benches there.
Yeah, there is, and it looks like Cooper Sharman, their sub, is entering the game. Charles Webster's the player who looks to be struggling with something at the moment for the Saints, so maybe he's someone who could be coming off. In fact, it's Aaron Caminiti who's now pulling on the tracksuit top, and he is out of the game, and Cooper Sharman is in the Saints sub.
Saints by 2 points, thanks Garvey. Inside they go, St Kilda. Mitch Owens burrows his way through. Hand pass off to Higgins. Now to King. Wrapped up there by Fox. Handball was quick over the top there towards all. It's dangerous here for the Swans defenders. Comes from Fox back to Cunningham. He can clear the area. Just thumps it beyond defensive 50 and Hickey on the second bite. Pulls in the grab at right half back. Playing against the second of his 4 AFL clubs, Tom Hickey. One-time former Saint. The big ruckman. Up the outer side he comes. Loose ball pounced on by Marty. Shares it back to Sheldrick. Just hurried ball again towards the flank. Patley in the contest out there with Stocker. And Sinclair helps to assist, bring it back the other way now. Off a little step, Ross can find Wanganeen Miller on the other side.
I feel like the 3 club players are the new 2 club players, and vice versa. Hang on. We've got another 50. This is the second 50-metre penalty in the space of 3 minutes. And Wanganeen Miller is going to be marched now inside 50 and into goal-kicking range.
Look at the heat check on the City Swans coach's box.
Getting warmer. Jeez. Messiah Wanganeen Miller in just his 29th game. He's only kicked 1 goal in his career so far.
He's looked good with the ball in hand. He's probably tried to do too much with it a couple of times for his 18 possessions what he's had, but it's nice behind the ball, isn't it?
What a moment in the game this would be. Messiah on the set shot. Wanganeen Miller has got it. And in a game with goals at a premium, St Kilda kick back-to-back majors from 50-metre penalties. The Saints by 8 points. As many minutes travelled in the final term. 9-6 to 7-10. Jason Saddington, Ty Kennelly.
Yeah, and I think that coach's box, the Swans one, it's boiling. 250s. That does really hurt. It's changed the momentum of the game. And all of a sudden, St Kilda are the 8 points up. I'm sure Ross now is going, well, we tactically don't need to change anything here. We just stick with, let's slowing this game up. Let's try and get the numbers back. Let's just clog it up a little bit. And then Horse now is probably going to look at, well, we need to score again. So, what levers are we going to pull to try and open this?
It almost helps you sometimes, doesn't it, when you actually end up being 12 points behind, or instead of that 2 points or 4 points, or you kind of don't change enough tactically. Now they've got to actually get after the game a bit from this Swans perspective when the gap is a bit bigger than the goal.
Anthony Caminiti subbed out, as Daniel Garb told us, and Cooper Sharman takes his place And St Kilda's forward 50. Sheldrick immediately from that opening, or from the centre bounce. And we'll do it all again. Ball in the air. Crouch, held by Goulden. Umpire lets them play. Heaney in there as well. Now we'll ball up again.
And you think back the second quarter, that 5-goal run the Swans had. It's when Florent was running off half back. There was a lot more run and carry and getting the ball deeper in. They need Florent to get back into the game.
Free kick for a hold going Goulden's way against Brad Crouch.
They kicked 5 goals in that 17-minute burst, Saturday. They've kicked only 2 others for the whole night.
Saints by 8, 9 gone final term. Goulden's raking ball inside 50 at the drop. Clark collected by Sinclair. Tied out towards Hickey. Amati brought down from behind by Ross. Umpire says, no, another driving tackle. Dumped illegally. And now Amati has a set shot from 45 out, slightly right of centre.
It's not there. It's not a sling. He's actually fallen down. This is embarrassing. I'm sorry. This is not a sling tackle. He's came to his knees. Joel's almost jumped onto the ground and onto his front. I don't know what you're supposed to do as a footballer.
And Ross went to pin the arms straight away.
And then released. And slipped on the tackle, and actually Joel's jumped off.
Very important kick this for the Sydney Swans. The sub, Joel Amati. To liven up the pride party at the SCG. And misses the right-hand side for a minor score. Margin 7, St Kilda's way, 10 gone final term.
So we're tracking towards Gaelic footy.
Yeah.
Don't tackle.
Yeah.
No tackling.
That's embarrassing, sorry.
Gaelic footy is a game, or?
He just launched out of his seat then, Corbin.
No, but we've had 3 big kicks in this last quarter. One from a driving tackle, which wasn't there, and 2 50-metre penalties in a close game. St Kilda by 7 points. We've had a lot of intervention through the first 11 minutes of this final term. Swans work it down the wing. Comes down to Lloyd. Hand pass to Hickey. Loose handball back inboard. Pack forms on the wing. Sheldrick tackled the ground.
And I understand how hard it is to umpire the game. We do not help him, but that's not right.
Yeah.
That cannot be stamped out of our game.
You can show replays of like, this is a good tackle, poor tackle, but in the heat of the moment with things happening, you can't control everything that's happening with 2 players that are involved in a tackle. The person with the ball is part of the tackle, and the tackle is part of the tackle.
High tackle at the stoppage against Wyn Hagar, so Goulden will take it. Has to kick off his right peg, which we didn't know he had. He heads down to half forward, spills down to Clark, hand pass through to Heaney, his kick smothered. Ricochets to centre half forward for the Swans. Hayward can't control it, Campbell grabs it, Sinclair's got in, Pack forms behind them, up lets them roll, Goulden just fighting on trying to get it out. In the end, the ump says, I'll have it, and the ball up centre half forward for the Swans. St Kilda by 7, 12 gone final term.
It's heating it now, isn't it? The intensity's lifted right up in this game.
Amati taps it down only as far as Crouch. The Saints can clear back to the wing. Chest mark second right. King couldn't pull it in. Hand pass from Sharman, running by Burns, run down from behind by Cunningham. Umpire lets them play. Hand pass was chopped off by Milliken, that time coming from Gresham. Now Florent goes on the overlap here for the Swans. Back to Sheldrick, loose man now Fox. On the bounce it comes to Hayward. He's got the leg but goes to Amati by hand as well. Amati brought down by Butler. Hand pass goes straight to Wanganeen Miller. High kick up in the air beyond defensive 50. It missed the contest there with Higgins and Cunningham. Florent first to retrieve it now. Gets it back from Mackin. He tumbles it back towards half forward. Campbell is there. Amati crashes in as well. Handball comes from Hayward back to Campbell. His handball picked off by Wanganeen Miller, and the Saints can clear.
Wood hurried kick down the wing, bouncing footy. Lloyd will get there on the hop. Hand pass out wide to Fox. Spin move, avoided the Butler tackle. Runs and carries for Sydney, not his best kick. A high bomb down to half forward, tough one to mark. Amati flies, no grab, spills to Heaney, takes on the tackle, taken high. Free kick against Mason Wood, the All-Australian Heaney to take it. 60 out, high bomb to the hot spot, Franklin. No mark, falls to Warner. Hand pass to Gordon, onto the left peg, shoots goalward but misses near side. He was always going back on the left, and the St Kilda defenders now being behind for the Swans.
It's a great crumb by Warner. You saw him look like he was going to launch, stayed on, strong hands in the tackle, and that's a miss for Goulden, but he's good enough to actually finish that.
Saints by a goal, 13 played, final turn.
Sinclair kicks out beyond defensive 50. Running start, Cooper Sharman. Ball from behind from Florent. Crouch tracks it towards the members' pavilion. It's out of bounds for a throw-in. Left half forward for the Swans. St Kilda by 6 points. 9-6 plays, 7-12. Midway through this final term on Grandstand AFL. Umpire heaves it back in. McLean In the contest with Owens, Steele brings Goulden to ground. Loose ball, Sheldrick volleys it inside 50. That's an intercept chest mark taken down there by Dougal Howard. Lays off the hand pass to Bradley Hill. And the Saints are away again.
Oh, dangerous kick. Broken up on the way through by Papley. Papley wins his own ball. Kicks inside 50. Campbell. Braden Campbell drifting inside 50. Marks in front of Franklin. And Braden Campbell wants the spotlight. He'll shoot from 40 out, centre half forward.
Yeah, it's almost like,
kick it.
Buddy got up. It's like, who just stole that from me?
Come on, Braden. You should know better.
Well, I thought Papley had overcooked the kick, but Campbell probably saved him a little bit there, drifting in.
The 21-year-old, fresh-faced Sydney youngster stands in front of Franklin and stands up in the moment. Ties the game. Braden Campbell with a big-time kick and scores a level halfway through the final term. 8-12-60. St Kilda 9-6-60. Tie game at the SCG.
It's the beauty of footy a little bit. It's been a dour game. There hasn't been a lot of highlights throughout, but when you do get to this stage of the game and it is tight, you go into the last 10 minutes, it becomes exciting, doesn't
What we have on Sunday, back to that game decided by a kick.
Yep.
Both from the 6-point games on Sunday. Here we are, the first game of round 13. It's all square. How does it fall, Ty?
You love seeing moments like this from Brady Campbell. At Sydney for mine, their intensity's been better. They're ball loose inside 50 clearing this moment. They look like they're going to score. St Kilda for mine had the opportunities early in the quarter. The momentum's with Sydney. Crouch is having a good game inside. They need to get someone for Sydney to get some more efficient ball forward for them.
15 gone, about 15 left. In the first game of round 13. Saints win the clearance. Hyatt goes in the middle of the SCG. Campbell breaks the tackle. Handball goes straight though to Filippo. Wood under pressure, gets it back to Ross. He can put it back inside 50. Francis drops the intercept mark. Fox goes by hand to Cunningham. Pressure from him as well. And now Burns competes with Lloyd. Gresham in the pocket. Works it back to Cooper. Sharman collected by Rampy. Gresham keeps it moving only as far as the boundary line. 35 around from the St Kilda's goal at the Randwick end. So it was around a little bit. No team could take control. It's a stoppage inside 50 for the visitors.
A good place to be. A couple of free kicks have been called, so it's a good place to be for a St Kilda supporter.
16 gone, final term, scores level, boundary throw in McLean once, twice, knocks it out of play, says,
deliver it,
throw it in.
Had me there for a second.
Always a few nervy moments. In the lean year for the Swans, 5-6 if they win this. Last year's grand finalists, who'd have thought they could square themselves off with no Parker, no Mills. Both McCartans still absent. Boundary throw in. Sharman knocks it down to Crouch, trying to fight through a couple of tacklers. He's caught. Says, I'll have it. And for St Kilda, they're trying to win to go 8-4, stop the slide and try and win at a place they haven't won in almost 15 years.
Ball in the air. Sheldrick needs support. Tunnels it away towards McLean. Going in hard as well was Filippo. Saints win it away. Wood. Kick goes nowhere. Burns off here. Goes high towards the corridor. Higgins was a little too deep for him. Handball comes to Bradley Hill, who snaps on the right boot, wobbles it towards goal, and it's missing to the right-hand side. The hand pass on the way through, but Hill couldn't quite finish. Saints are ahead by 1.
Hurried kick out, Lloyd to Francis out at half-back. Hand pass away to Warner, trying to go the length of the ground. To Clark and a one-on-one. He hangs on to Sinclair. Free kick for the All-Australian. And Jack Sinclair plays on. Can pump it back inside 50. Max King's got to go. Leaps up, no mark. Follows up at ground level. King paddles it out in front. Got rid of the defender. Hands it to Higgins. Higgins pops it through. Jack Higgins with a big-time major at the Sydney Cricket Ground. And there's no Missy Higgins headlines tonight. Finds the opening. St Kilda by 7. 18 gone, final term. Touched on that losing sequence here. The game in 2021, it 1-6 in a game they narrowly lost. And Higgins tonight can put them 7 clear, 18 gone in the last.
It was a quick kick in from Sydney, and I'm not too sure what Chad Warner was doing. He's tried to come inside and kick it to a 1v1 to Ryan Clark against Sinclair. Sinclair won the 1v1. It was actually a free kick itself and just launched it. It looked like King was going to mark it. He's actually dropped the mark. A fantastic follow-up to push Rampy out of the way. Clean hands from the big man to pick it up. And as all small forwards are, there when you need them. And nice finish from his non-preferred Higgins. So you're right, that moment I'm sure coming to the SCG, Missy Higgins would be playing his mind.
Oh, he's fired up, Jack Higgins. Giving it to the crowd as well. Saints by 7. Waiting for a clearance. Crouch, hand pass off to Woods. Sweeping work by hand to steal the captain off to Manganese Miller running by. Tries to break the path of Errol Goulden on the way through. This kick goes straight up in the air towards half forward. Mitch Owens competes with Francis. It's offhand over for a throw-in. On the other side at left half forward for the Saints. Daniel Garb on the boundary.
After kicking that goal, Higgins has come to the boundary and Rowan Marshall's come on. So he's had his breather. Now he's setting himself for a big 10 to 12 minutes to finish this game off. He's had 47 hit-outs, Rowan Marshall. So I reckon that rest was planned to make sure he controls the rest of the game.
It's a big night from the boundary throw-in. Comes down to Wood, hands it out to Nasiah Wanganeen Miller, gives it over to Marshall, to Battle. Kick goes inside 50, falls down to Butler. He shoots goalward, he misses everything. It's out of bounds on the full. So no change to that score. Saints by 7 points. We're about to tick into time on in the last. What a game so far. It's been a real game of runs. The Saints with the first 14 points. That was their biggest lead. Sydney led it at one stage by 20. We've had 4 lead changes, 3 of them in the second half. St Kilda by 7 at the moment. Time on, final turn.
Jake Lloyd from the pocket. Was it long beyond defensive 50? Out of the one-on-one. Heaney, and it's going to drop here in the path of Battle, who was competing with Clark. And Josh Battle, St Kilda's swingman. He's at right half forward, 65 out. Call to play on now. Pops it high to the teeth of goal here for the Saints. Up goes Francis in defence. At the drop, Cooper Sharman tries to tunnel it away. Florent goes in hard there for the Swans as well. Owens reaching for it, so too Goulden. Waiting for it to come clear. Crouch off to steal. Hurried kick with the outside of the boot. Trickles out towards fullback where Campbell collects for Swans and thumps it back from whence it came.
Skip their only goal of this final term. Campbell, he goes long to Franklin, carries the pack. Clark's onto it. Hurried kick to a one-on-one. Stocker stands his ground and outmarks Wicks.
Some big 1v1s for St Kilda.
Clark just need to kick long in space.
Stocker straight in the middle of the ground for Wanganeen Miller, and the shift is on all the way out the eastern wing for Wood.
Just pinned in here, the Swans. They can't get out of their defensive half of the field.
Saints trying to protect a 7-point cushion. 21 gone, final turn. He goes long inside 50. Francis leaping from the back, trying to mark, can't. Owens clever, paddles it inboard to King, tackled, lost it. Philippou hands it back to King, tight angle, kicks for Sharman. Melican tries to knock it through for a rush behind, hits the behind post. And we'll have a throw in.
Probably would have almost preferred the behind there, the Swans, so at least they can reset, get the ball in hand, try and get it.
Oh, there's some idiot who's gone to the ground here.
He's got his shirt off, he's waving it above his head. The boundary throwing deep forward for the Saints. And now he's sort of has his hands out celebrating on the centre wicket area, and there are security guards converging on him from every angle. One security guard fell over, the turf monster got him. And the man's going to make it from one corner of the SCG to the other. He leaps the fence, and he's made his way up the stairs with about a dozen security guards from every corner of the SCG out after him.
I'd hate to see what's happening behind the stand.
At some point there'll be a security guard further up ahead who's going to get notice of this and stop
Surely.
Anyway, stoppage inside 50 here for the Saints. You get the feeling, all that aside, the way this game has progressed, which is, apart from the few sort of scoring sort of just slowly at times, the Saints get one more here, another goal. That's just about it as far as this game is concerned.
Corbin, you're calling that like fella was listening to the 12th man. So just give me my job back.
Thankfully, his shirt wasn't his pants that went off, which is the good thing. Back in it comes Hickey and Owens. Bobbles around here. Butler spent it before he had it. Campbell scoops it off the deck here in defence. Wrapped up though by Butler, the umpire says will ball up 35 out from St Kilda's attacking goal. As a reminder, of course, do not enter the field of play on the big screen.
A bit late.
Too late for that. He's got a $5,000 fine coming his way if he's caught. Tunneled away here by Goulden. At ground level as well. Windhager fires on goal. It's off to the right-hand side, out of bounds on the full. So the Swans have the ball from left full back. No change to our score. St Kilda by 7. 23 gone, final turn.
10-7 to 8-12. Sydney led by 6 at three-quarter time. 3 goals to 1 in the last, the Saints way. Long kick from Francis to half-back. Off the pack, spills down to Gresham. Back inside 50. Looking for Sharman over his head. Butler top of the goal square. Rampy gets there first. Sockers it away to Campbell. Rampy has a second go. Off his knees, hands it out to Lloyd. Last line of defence for the Swans. Runs and carries. Kicks it straight down the pipe for Sydney. Hand on it from Papley. No mark. Buddy goes charging through. Takes some bodies with him. Comes to Wicks. Hand pass to Gordon. Hurried kick forward. Papley goes again. Bangs into Wilkie. Ball spits out. Franklin sockers it straight to Wilkie. Onto his chest, and Wilkie never broke stride. Kicks into open space on the wing.
It's a race on foot. Sharman goes there with Milliken. Support comes from McLean. Hand pass back to Milliken. Neat kick to McInerney. The Swans get the footy back at half-back. Oh, dicey ball now. Heaney was waiting for it. Closed fast by Steele. And they pile in here on the back edge of the square. The umpire will ball up.
Milliken on Sharman. Spriggy, one of the great number 43, the number 43.
Absolutely. 68 here from St Kilda's goal with a stoppage. The Saints lead by 7. Hand pass from Crouch to Marshall. Tumbles a high ball inside forward 50. Good spoil from Francis on King. Sharman's going to hack it out of the air. Going in hard was Rampy in defence. Shares it with Florent. Loopy handball now for Campbell. He's got space to work in. And Braden Campbell will just pull the kick short to Wicks at right half back.
So Wicks takes his time in front of the O'Reilly stand, measures the kick, turns it over, straight to Howard.
They haven't been able to get past halfway for the quarter of football. Really, Sydney have the St Kilda been outstanding defensively behind the ball. They set up really strong behind the ball, which has forced Sydney to try and pull the trigger a lot.
Coughed up a 2-score lead late in the piece against Hawthorn a fortnight ago. Trying to protect one here on the road, the Saints. Heads down to half forward with a kick. Falls through to Owens. Through a number of bodies. He shoots goalward but misses. To the left, to behind. Owens puts St Kilda 8 up. It's a 2-score game. 25 gone, final turn.
Front clear, up the pipe by Rampy. One back here for Crouch of the Saints. Goes back into the corridor. Sharman got separation on Rampy and takes the mark. 20 out directly in front. And an opportunity here for the sub to potentially ice the game and put the Saints 14 points clear.
So Dane Rampy just slipped over.
Stevie G. Moment, Stevie Gerrard. But he's kicked it straight down the middle. When you're kicking in like that and you're playing, you need to put a bit of angle on the ball, because it's easy to defend that when it's coming straight down the middle of the ground. Make it harder for the opposition team to actually get the spoil on it.
He's not just a sub. He could well be the game winner. Sharman pops it home. Saints are out by 14. 26 gone, final term. There's still quite a finish coming up on Grandstand AFL.
Well done, Cooper, because that's a dangerous part to actually to have the shot. It's almost like a 3-footer in golf. You know, you're 35 out, straight in front. It's pretty clutch moment going. Well, if you kick it, you probably win the game. So young man comes in fresh and executes it. So well done. It's all a play for now from Sydney.
In the context of the game, I mean, this is a huge lead, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
We haven't seen it almost, I think, probably the biggest lead for the game, nearly.
That's 20 points was Sydney's best. This is Kilda's best lead off the memory.
They need a clearance here, the Swans, just at least to get the ball in their front half. They just haven't been able to get it inside 50 for, I think, the last 12 minutes.
Saints led by 13 early quarter number 2. There you go.
There's a bit of a conference here between the two umpires, and in the end they decide to chuck it up. So 3-score games, St Kilda lead it. 26 gone, final term. A big goal for Cooper Sharman. Super sub.
Not sure what happened though. I didn't come in and actually bounce the ball.
They did it earlier in the game too.
Umpire chunks it up the second time, and Marty knocks it forward down to Bradley Hill. Hurried kick to centre half forward for the Saints though. Cunningham caught in a tangle with Higgins. Cunningham wins it outnumbered in the end. Hand pass to Francis. Handball away to Florent. Desperation belongs to the Swans here. Gives it off to McInerney. Cuts back inboard on his right peg. Kicks to centre half forward for Sydney. Flying uncontested Owens. Doing it at both ends.
Yeah, he's put it straight to the free play. Owens is the forward drifting back. He's kicked it straight to where Owens is standing.
Flares it back, members side. Marshall in the contest with a Marty. Out the back. Knocked forward by Filippo, and now over the boundary line for a throw-in. Francis couldn't keep it alive.
But again, very strong from St Kilda behind the ball. They clearly went to work and went to town on their defensive side of the game. The number one defensive side in the competition. They've now got +1 behind the ball in Owens. And you're right, Justin did kick it down his throat, but they've prepped this quarter of football. It's been a joy to watch them defensively behind the ball, St Kilda, that is.
Last quarter, 28 gone. Heaney slides through, competes down there with Windhager. Plucked away here by Florent. Hot footy here for the Swans off half-back. Bradley Hill cuts across here for the Saints. Out to Sharman, back to Bradley Hill. Hand pass off to Butler, who can soccer from 25 out. It misses everything. And just skids out for a throw-in at deep left full forward for the Saints. Daniel Guard on the boundary.
The crowd tonight, 30,123, so a healthy figure for a Thursday night game here in Sydney. And the Saints have just sent the message to Max King, down the line. So it's clear what they want to do from here.
Boundary throw in, Amati wins it down to Warner. Jams it on the boot. Sprawling effort from Hill. Can't reel it in. Falls through to Lloyd. He sockers it off the deck. Comes back into dispute though. Packett centre half forward for the Saints. She was Ross tackled without it. Says play on. Cunningham sockers it in the middle of the ground. Papley went without it. Goes back in a second time. Hands it to Campbell. Bursts through traffic. Kicks to Franklin at a one-on-one. He loses Wilkie in the air. Franklin stood on the Sharon. Left it behind. Wilkie grabs it for the Saints. Kicks to the wing. And a mark taken.
You've got to even up forward of the ball, Sydney. So they've allowed St Kilda to have the extra and owns. You just got to go for it now. It's obviously 3 minutes left to go in the game, so you've got to put some even numbers forward of the ball.
Windhager long to half forward. King from the back can't take the mark. High half forward. Rowbottom knocks it out to Cunningham. Out pass to Rampy, half back for the Swans. Handball to Florent. Kicks coming to get him, shakes the tackle. And Florent will just dump the kick into the middle of the SCG.
And out to the centre circles, a little too wide of Patley. Picked up by Regan Miller of the Saints, and he tracks it all the way back to Wilkie at fullback. Settle things down here a second, the Saints. Short kick to Mitch Owens. 14 points is the visitors' lead as they approach their first win at the SCG in 14 years.
Well, I'm sure Ross had him review hard the lead that they gave up against the Hawks, and they've learnt from that. They're clearly not going to let that happen tonight.
There were 2 on 2. Amati reaching from the back. Cunningham goes the fend on Higgins. Fires the hand pass back to Francis off half back. Now to Warner. Devoid of options. Carries the footy himself. Pressure from Butler. And arrives to King. On the burst from 40. Max King can send it home. And put the exclamation point on this Saints victory with goal number 3 for him. Out to an equal game high 20-point lead. St Kilda will rejoice in this. 12-8-80 to Sydney's 8-12-60. And once again, under Ross Lyon, the Saints will salute at the SCG.
Yeah, well, they've won out the arm wrestle a little bit, haven't they, the Saints? Just took their opportunities early in this quarter with a couple of scrappy goals to get the lead out. And, of course, then the Swans have to chase the game a little bit, which opens it up a touch more for Saints to get the last 2. Really nice, scrappy, hard-fought win, but, it's the way Ross will take it every day of the week.
Yeah, the 250s now really changed the game. It was 4 inside 50s in Sydney at the time. The 250s changed the whole momentum at the start of the quarter. Where Sydney dominated the start of the quarter and St Kilda get the momentum back.
They've lost only 3 final quarters all year, St Kilda. They kicked 5 goals to 1 in the final term here to reverse a 6-point three-quarter time deficit into a game-high lead in the waning moments. Sydney with a centre break here as Melican off the back edge of the square kicks it to centre half forward for the Swans. Knocked away down to Lloyd. Eyes the big sticks. Pulls the trigger. Kicks it straight through. One back late for the Swans. And Jake Lloyd, a red drift forward into the front half. Kicks his 3rd goal of the season. St Kilda by 14 points. 32 gone final 2.
A sort of concession goal to finish the game there. Nice easy one for Jake Lloyd. A lovely finish off the centre clearance. A defender pushing high, able to get the crumb. Unfortunately for the Swans, they just haven't had the ball in the front half in this quarter. I mean, it's one of the few times they've actually got it in that part of the ground off the back of the centre clearance.
And that's right, that's been a whole lot of goals obviously in the quarter itself, so that's allowed Sydney. The only way they were getting the ball in the front half was from the centre bounce itself. And St Kilda set up behind the ball has been outstanding this last quarter of football, and Sydney barely got past the halfway.
And apart from that period in the second quarter where they kicked 5, they've really struggled to get any flow going.
So after 7 straight losses at the Sydney Cricket Ground, Ross Lyon, St Kilda re-established their credentials with a spirited win on the road by 14 points over the Swans. 12-8-80 to 9-12-66. say much. Home all right. Goal kickers for the Saints. Max King finished with 3. That's now, 11 goals in 3 games since his return. Mitch Owens was tremendous all night. He had 2 goals too. Also a couple for Dan Butler. Singles for Higgins, Sharman, Wanganeen, Miller. Filippo kicked the first of the game. Canetti was subbed out in the last quarter. And for the Swans, Lance Franklin kicked 2. He now goes past Doug Wade for 1,059 overall. He's 4th all-time outright on the goal-kicking list. 2 for Papley. Singles to Goulden, Campbell, Wicks, Clark and Lloyd. It was secured by 7 points after a lacklustre opening term. It was the first 7 points of the game. The Swans didn't kick their first goal until midway through early in the second quarter, 10-minute mark of the second quarter, for a 34-point scoring run. 5 goals in a row. They led by 9 points at the half, the Swans. It was Sydney by 6 points at the final change, and St Kilda in the end home by 14 points in the end. The margin didn't swing beyond 20 points either way across the game. It was a seesawing affair with plenty of momentum shifts, but alas, St Kilda hangs on for win number 8 in season at 2023, and they just stay in touch with the top 4, of course, on the fringes, with still the rest of round 13 to play. Your experts on Grandstand AFL are Ty Kennelly and Jason Saddington.
We put it in the books as a win for the Saints. They had to work hard. It was a bit of a dour battle, like we mentioned, both teams throughout the course of the game. The first quarter, it never got going, Ty, with poor ball use by both teams, fumbly. Second quarter opened up for a period, and the Swans kicked 5 goals almost on the trot. We thought, okay, the ball movement's going. Ollie Florent from half back started to really get some run and carry, and Papley popped up with some crumbs off the back of some fantastic contested work from Buddy in the air. Third quarter, we probably returned to a bit of a dourness, but
nice moment here as well for Buddy's 350th, and Lance Franklin is on the shoulders of Joel Amartey and Hayden McLean, probably the only 2 men that are capable of holding up that high. As the Saints on the guard of honour as well as his teammates on the other side, and he receives the applause of those Sydney fans that have stuck around. Nice hug from his fellow Noongar man in Bradley Hill as well, which is great to see, and he makes his way as well as, of course, former Hawthorn teammate, and they make their way down the race, the Sydney Swans, and St Kilda will rejoice with their away fans, of course, who are still across various pockets of the City Cricket Ground. Sorry, Sada.
No, that's fine. And then obviously in the last quarter, St Kilda, I think at the end of the third quarter, they got a couple of free kick goals.
Yeah.
They were struggling to find a way forward and kick goals themselves. A couple of free kick goals to end the third, the Saints, to get back into the game. And then a couple of 50-metre goals to start the last quarter to put them up in front. Probably the difference there, those 4 goals either side of three-quarter time got the Saints really across the line. What was that sort of arm wrestle style game?
Yeah, the second half, Sydney had all the momentum in the third quarter and just didn't hit the scoreboard. They're inside 50 kind of three-quarter time. They were nearly plus 14 compared to St Kilda. They just didn't hit the scoreboard, and a couple of free kicks late in the quarter, and obviously one with 10 seconds to go in red time when St Kilda go in at three-quarter time, only 6 points behind. And then they set up really well behind the ball in the last quarter. They got the ball in the front half and kept it in there, and Sydney just couldn't get it past halfway. And clearly they went to town and went to work on their defensive side of the game, which got them the first 4 wins of the season. When Ross understands the cattle that he's got, and he knows, that at the minute they're not quite where he wants them to play, but they're playing a defensive style of football that's really strong, which is going to suit a system-based team where he knows what he can actually teach them a system around how to defend the ball and how to defend the game. It's something St Kilda haven't been able to do in recent years. And they come up to Sydney, and that last quarter of football was an absolute joy defensively to watch St Kilda and the way they actually set up behind the ball. So, look, you talk about 2 coaches had a huge imprint in this game as far as how the game was played, and Ross Lyon, his coaching staff took the honours tonight.
I think some of the St Kilda defenders too are actually really enjoying that style of play. Wanganeen Mellera was fantastic again tonight. He had the 30 possessions. He was one certainly in that last quarter to keep repelling the attack. Well, when Swans are trying to bring the ball out, even kicked a lovely goal. And Wilkie's, he does it a treat, doesn't he? It's the ability to read the play, and his positioning is fantastic. A lot of intercept marks. He gets free, drops off his opponents at the right time. He's super impressive, and it suits him. And then Owens up forward, I thought was terrific. King obviously is a great target, but Owens a great inclusion back into the team tonight after his couple of weeks off from concussion.
And Brad Crouch was the other one, you know.
Just keeps getting the ball, doesn't he?
The ball, and he's tackling, and his hit around the ball was a stand-up for mine. When really the clearance work was going against him, you know.
Yeah.
And the Ruckman and Marshall, I don't know what he ended up with hit-outs, but his numbers would have been huge. He's worked better on the ground. I know at times he was up against Robbie Fox in the second half when Hickey was getting a break, but he's influencing the game, and the team was getting done from a clearance point of view, but they still ended up getting enough inside 50s from his ability to get his hands on the ball.
Cracked the half-ton, 51 hit-outs to Ryan Marshall.
There you go.
Across the game.
Cal Sinclair would have been all over that. Normally, if he's in the box, he would have been loving that. I'll tell you, the other thing it was a high-pressure game. The other thing St Kilda did extremely well. They probably tackled and pressured just a touch better than the Swans around the contest at times too. I mean, if you have a look at tackle count, 95-60, that's a fair difference in terms of tackle count. But, you know, clearances the Swans won. So quite an interesting take on those two stats.
Daniel Garb downstairs.
Just watching the St Kilda players gathering at the top of the race. For some reason they haven't gone down straight away, and they're waiting for all the players to come in from the lap of honour that they've done, and handing out of the little footies to the Saints fans who have gathered here. And there's quite a healthy collection of them, and they gave Ross Lyon a hero's welcome when he went down the race. He was mobbed by the Saints fans. Big hugs for the coach. He actually signed a box of Cheezels. The supporter down here with a box of Cheezels is getting the players and Ross Lyon to sign them. Now they're making their way down the race for the team song, the Saints players. And as you can imagine, they are as elated as you can be. Massive smile on the face of Rowan Marshall, who was absolutely fantastic, cracking the half-century of hit-outs tonight. So the Saints enjoying themselves here in Sydney.
Let the Harry Sheasel trade speculation begin with the box of Cheezels being signed. Back to you in a few seconds, Garby, as the players make their way in. But a spirited road win, as I said, for this St Kilda Football Club by 14 points tonight. Garby, call them in for us.
Well, I'm just behind them now, so they've all gone in, and that song is not too far away.
They look pretty happy seeing them walk in, and
there is no better feeling when you get an away win. Honestly, when you haven't won it, obviously, in the ground for a long, long time as a footballer, it's a football club. It is a great feeling.
Here we go. We'll bring it to you shortly if we can, the St Kilda song in the rooms as the celebrations continue downstairs. 14-point winners, the Saints over the Swans here on Thursday night. But as to what that does, you mentioned that, Corbin, 8-4 now for Ross Lyon's team. So hadn't had back-to-back wins since round 4. And they've got Richmond at the MCG next Saturday night. So an opportunity for consecutive victories there.
A huge win. It fell away for them poorly in the back end of last year. And, I mean, there's so many steps that a team takes, isn't it? So they won their first 4 games of the year when expectations were really low. Expectations start to increase. They go win-loss up until the bye. They get a chance to freshen up, and now they get the win here today, which keeps them at 8-4. So it actually puts them equal third on the table, sort of in that position in 5th at the moment, only by percentage. But
they do have a good draw home. Yep. Like, they do have, obviously, with the ladder finishing where they finished last year, so they will get a good look at it. You know, how many wins have they got?
They got 8 at the moment.
8, you know, so they'll get very close to it. You'd think the 8 and all.
They play Hawthorn and North twice.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, they're big wins.
Hawthorn beat it.
They did.
True.
They did once already. The other double ups they've got are Gold Coast, Carlton, who aren't the Carlton that I think a lot of people thought they would be, Richmond, who are all of a sudden the bottom 6 team, and Brisbane up at the Gabba, which is going to be a tough ask. But you could see them certainly from a platform of 8-4 getting those last 5 wins they need.
Well, it makes last week's loss probably hurt even more. I know you don't want to look back, but gee, that was an opportunity missed. It could be 9-3.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really good place to be.
Yeah.
The games they've lost so far, so they lost to Collingwood and Adelaide both on the road. Lost to Port Adelaide in a narrow fixture at home, and then the Hawthorn game's that real outlier. The other losses don't look too bad, 2 of them road trips, which kind of meant they needed to come and win tonight. They needed to get the one back that they obviously let slip against Hawthorn. You look at their team too, at the start of the year they had a boatload of injuries, so a lot of guys unavailable to them. I think Ross has kind of almost talked down what he's got in a discovery year, as he's really called it. But even if you look through the injury list now, so there's still 10 names there, but guys like sort of Clark and Caulfield, who are high picks, Billings, who's sort of been on the fringe in the last couple of years, Zach Jones, who it's sort of starting to look through and go, well, there's not a heap sort of top-end talent there. So all of a sudden they're starting to get sort of guys back that would generally form their best 10 to 15 players.
He clearly came in and saw the list that he had, and he goes, well, he's a defensive-minded coach, and he knows how to get teams to grand finals and build a list. And he's come in, obviously, all summer, worked on the defensive side of the game. And clearly we know that Rossline knows what he's doing as a coach, but the fact that his players is buying into the way he wants them to play was at the start the way the season has started, and the fact that he's come out and said, well, we got the runs on the board, we've come back to this will reiterate his game plan to them now as a group, as a football team, going, well, you know what, he's right, it might be ugly, but you know what, the coach is right, we're not going to test the water again from here on in for the rest of the year. We're going to play this dour, tight, strong defensive game behind the ball and gives the best chance to actually win more games we're going to lose.
Well, and it does somewhat work with the lists and what they've got out on the park. I mean, it helps their back line. We mentioned Wilkie and Wanganeen Mellor. It suits their play across sort of half back. They've got the tough midfielders still, but even forward, you've got a couple of targets. If you can just scrap and fight, get it in, some good small forwards in Gresham and Butler to get busy and put pressure on and try and kick some crumb goals. And it's not pretty and they don't kick high scores, but it's effective. It's getting the job done.
Sorry, go on.
No, you mentioned the tackle count earlier too. So they're eye-watering numbers. 97 tackles in a game of footy.
That's back 10 years ago.
Isn't it?
Yeah. The game has moved on from that. That's a real pressure. It's probably the sloppiness of the game itself, and the game was so dour with the game was on the ground a bit, and it gave opportunities, but that is an enormous number in today's football.
80 is a big number in today's footy.
Yep.
97 tackles in a game.
And Jason said it, their effectiveness in their tackling really stood out compared to Sydney. Their ability to actually hurt in the tackle, as we saw. Butler's probably going to be up for a review.
Yeah.
That's how we know.
Marcus says Butler pushed Blakey in the back after the tackle. Stupid habit, thinking that was the reason for the free kick. Yeah, well, that's more problems than just the free kick. It was that driving, dumping tackle we mentioned as well, which saw Blakey subbed out, we believe, because of that, and a head knock he sustained from that contact, which is bad news for
If he's concussed, he's gone.
Yeah.
If he's concussed, and if it's the ankle injury, probably he's a chance. That's what he'd be hoping for. Butler and St Kilda would be hoping for. But if it's clearly, if he's concussed, he's in trouble.
What are the parameters then as far as Butler's? What's the mechanism for Dan Butler's charge then?
So basically, they could spit that out. It'll be careless.
Yep.
It'll come back as high, given his head hits the ground, and then the impact will basically be anywhere from. They have the potential to elevate it due to the head hitting the ground for serious injury. So even if he gets sighted, it could come back as sort of high. If it's concussion, it'll be severe, and he'll almost find himself with a 3-match ban straight out of the gates. But the process that they're going through when it comes to these tackles, the 3 questions they ask are, did you drive, dump or slam? So if it's one of those 3, it's one box ticked. So we think it's a drive.
Yep.
Did you pin the defensive arm? We're saying no. We're saying there was an arm free, so that's one cross. And the last one was, does the head hit the ground? And that's a yes. So he's got 2 of the 3 boxes checked, which means if Michael Christian runs it through his graph and they bump up the potential to cause injury, which they've been doing, Dan Butler looks like he's going to have a stint on the sideline. If, as Tyke said, if he is concussed, which we had mixed reports as to why Nick Blakey was subbed out of the game, that's bad news for Dan Butler, and he could be looking at a significant break.
So Kilda by 14 points here. Just on the cricket as it stands. So we'll take you there in about half an hour's time if you're listening through local radio, on analogue radio through regional areas. Australia are at lunch on day 2 at the World Test Championship at the Oval in London. Australia 7 for 422. Alex Carey is on 22 and Pat Cummins, the captain, on 2. After earlier, we saw Travis Head dismissed for 163, Cameron Green for 6, Steve Smith for 121, and Mitchell Stark for 5. 7 for 4-2 the Australians batting first in the first innings of that World Test Championship. And of course you can hear it right now, or the lunch break at least, but right throughout, uninterrupted on the ABC Listen app. Just look for the cricket toggle. Your text as well, 0437 774 774. Thank you, Brian, for your text. There's a few here as well. Marcus in South Melbourne says, how manky is this match? Tig on a par with Irish weather even.
Beautiful weather.
In Ireland or
yeah,
Sydney was lovely today.
Sydney was Sydney wasn't a great welcome for our Melbourne friend here.
The Irish summer at the moment.
Yes, it is. It's boiling 15.
The way the game was played, you would have thought there was torrential rain here throughout in different periods. I know
it looked crazy, didn't it? Yeah,
but Gee, it was sort of lacked a little bit of polish.
And that's what Sydney's, you come in Sydney probably favourites. They didn't score in the first quarter of the game. You're at home, the first quarter of football, you've got to be better than that. You've got to adapt to the conditions because you're used to playing the conditions better than the opposition team. And that's a part when you'll be wondering, well, you talked about the warm-up and the time difference. Well, Sydney didn't come to play early.
Yeah.
And that's a thing you can fix as a footballer.
Bit of a random one. Mikey from Bendigo, since it's a quiz question, time. What is the lowest number of AFL games that no player has finished their career on?
The what?
The lowest number of games that no player has finished their career on. So what is a number that isn't represented in like the overall list of players all time?
So say somebody retire. Say you retire on 1 game, Spriggy retires on 2 games, Tiger retires on 3 games, and so on and so forth. What's the lowest number that nobody has ever finished their career?
Yes.
On?
Oh God.
This is
ballpark it for me.
This is a real Rick Finlay type question.
33.
No. How common you reckon 33 is? 295. Thank you, Mikey, for that. I didn't check.
What? So a player has retired in VFL AFL history.
Every number between 1 and 294.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
1 to 294, and then when we get to 295.
295?
295.
Can we retire someone who's on 294 or 295 at the moment?
295.
Just on Buddy Franklin, by the way, we'll sort of bask in that achievement as well. As far as his goals record is concerned, but also his games record. So as far as Indigenous players, Sean Burger on 407, Adam Goods 372, Buddy with his 350th tonight equals Eddie Betts for third there as well. So just to contextualise.
22nd player in the game, not just Indigenous
exactly
players,
right.
but to play 350 alone. And the fact is obviously the Indigenous, but he's a superstar. And tonight he looked fresh early in the game, didn't he? And he didn't get the opportunity. The delivery wasn't great to him. And they went to Sydney in their first 9 inside 50s, went to him 8 and 8 of them missed him, and they were clearly going to him, but he's not the player that he is, but he's still dangerous. He's not the key focus that Sydney need. They need to get him up and get the Hayden McLeans into it, and obviously Amadi and Logan McDonald being out of the game obviously as well does hurt him.
Well, we'll head back to the Saints shortly, but just on the Lance Franklin thing, Corbin, and you asked Tom Harley during the Corbin and Ben program earlier as far as a proper farewell for Lance Franklin. Now, he didn't want to sort of go into definitively whether it is going to be his final year. The press release last year when he re-signed was one more, and I think we all know that this is the last year and it will wind down. He's not the sort of guy to sort of, as much as his football does the talking, to approach it to seek out the limelight when it comes to those sort of things, but the club has a duty to the AFL and its fans, especially the Sydney fans, to give him the proper farewell. So the key milestones here on the run home: his last game in Melbourne, there's only one more, which is, I think, round 17 against the Tigers.
Yes, which is early too. So if he is planning to wrap it up, from what we understand about Lance Franklin as a person, and you two would obviously know him better than we do. I mean, I'm not sure he wants an 8-week run-up to a farewell. So
but they got five games at the SCG? Is that what is left, or 6?
So he's got West Coast, Western Bulldogs, Gold Coast, Melbourne, so 4 left now.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I want to be getting going and planning around what way they're going to send out this legend.
So, yeah, obviously the last game here will be significant, assuming no finals for the Swans beyond round 24, isn't it? But then also his last game in WA, but given he's from there as well, I think he's got... they play Fremantle over there, I think, the Swans. Yes, in round 19. So there you go. There's a few of those little key moments along the way as hopefully we get a chance to farewell Lance Franklin properly, being the generational star that he is. Daniel Garb, back down to you near the St Kilda Ruins.
Thank you very much. And with Callum Wilkie, he's just emerged from a very long team meeting, but no doubt an enjoyable one, Callum. Congratulations on the win. Maybe it wasn't the prettiest game, but last time I checked, all 4 points are worth the same. So how does that one feel?
Yeah, no, it feels good. I mean, we put in a disappointing performance against Hawthorn. Our effort and intensity and our pressure around the contest wasn't there, and that's sort of what we just wanted to bring and have 22 contributors for the night. And I felt like we had our pressure back to what it was previously before Hawthorn game. So, proud of the boys.
Did it appear to you early that it was going to be one of those scrappy games? And did you say to yourself, all right, we need to grind this? Does that go through your mind at any stage?
Yeah, definitely, and especially the conditions. It was quite slippery out there. I reckon I saw about 10 smothers in a row, and that's when I thought this was going to be a grind for the whole night. There probably wasn't going to be free-flowing ball movement. And, our pressure was there, and so was Sydney, so we just got on top in the end.
To play on Buddy Franklin in his 350th game, he did a very good job on him. I mean, it's a Thursday night, the SCG, big crowd, you know the nation's watching, and you've got one of the biggest stars of the game on a very big milestone night for him. What was going through your mind during the week as you knew that was going to happen, and then during the game?
During the week, I probably started thinking about it after the Hawthorn game about 2 weeks ago. So I had 2 weeks to think about it, just thinking shit. It was quite a daunting task. I played on him before, but yeah, Thursday night footy at the SCG, his 350th. He's an absolute champion of the game, and you knew they were going to go look for him a lot tonight, and he got on top of me in the second quarter, but I feel like I bounced back.
You're having a really good season, so your game tonight was in line with that. You've been mentioned in all Australian dispatches, as you should be. How enjoyable is it for you at the moment, and do you feel like you're in that zone of excellent form right now? Yeah,
Pretty good form. I'm just trying to be the best leader I can for this group and trying to get the best out of them, and whether that's through action, whether that's through voice and communication and helping other players get better. I try to just be the best leader I can for this football club and try and get us, win more games and get us into finals.
Boys, Callum Wilkie's got the headset on, so you can ask him a few.
Hey, Callum, Ty Kennelly here in Sydney, mate. Well done. Clearly, you've worked on your defensive side of the game throughout the year, and the start of the year you caught a lot of teams, obviously, how well you defended the football. It's well known, obviously, what happened against Hawthorn, but clearly the past 10 days you've worked on your defensive side of the game and set up behind the ball. Yeah, definitely. I think teams sort of try to maybe go a bit quicker against us because of our defensive system throughout the first 6 games, and we addressed that, and we probably weren't running as hard defensively in the last probably month or so, and it's been very inconsistent. So that's probably what our big strength was, just our ability to work rate and work behind the ball, and our high forwards and our wingers do a lot of unrewarded running that helps us backs out, and it's a full team system. Yeah, your pressure was outstanding. You're on the ball. You close to 100 tackles for the game itself. You're going back to 10 years. I don't know if you know, but clearly it's been 15 years since you've had a win at the SCG. I'm not too sure if you talked about it. Obviously you didn't. No. So it's obviously always good to come to an away ground that you haven't got some wins and played well against the teams played in the grand final. Yeah, definitely. And away wins always galvanise the group. We had one against Cheetah West a couple of weeks ago, and it's a really good feeling getting away with the boys and connecting more and then putting in a good performance and get a good win. So proud of the boys' effort tonight, and we'll look to Richmond next week.
Callum, Jason Saddington, congrats on the win again, mate. Garby mentioned that Ross Lyon had a good long chat to you guys. What was he big on post-game with you guys in the rooms?
It's probably just that effort piece I spoke about. We spoke about 22 contributors for the night pre-game, and we wanted to tick that off after the game, and I feel like we did that, and he was just proud of that. And we fixed a few things up at half-time with a structure and compliance to it, and we really felt like that helped us get over the line with the way we sort of pressured around the contest. He was just wrapped with the effort. We bounced back off the disappointing Hawthorn performance and try and get the season back on track.
And does he touch on next week, or is that something he waits for during the week? Let you guys enjoy it, review, and then talk more about Richmond next week, or is that something he does touch on in the rooms after the game?
I think it sort of depends on how long of a break we got. We got 9 days, I think. So he just let him enjoy it, go back to the hotel and enjoy our company, and then we'll probably focus on the review Sunday, I reckon. Just give us a couple of days to enjoy this because we've got quite a long break.
Callum, I know you have to go, so congratulations on the win. Thanks for having a chat to us on Grandstand AFL.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Callum Wilkie joining us on the ABC Sport airwaves for the second time in a few weeks. We spoke to him after the Giants win a few weeks ago, but that game, of course, was another good win that they had, given they had to sort of battle through the carnage of Mitch Owens, who was knocked out, and there were other injury concerns as well in that game. But they come back to Sydney and win at a place they hadn't won for 14 years. So there you go, Callum Wilkie joining us there on Grandstand AFL. Max King and his form as well. We spoke about coming back in. He kicked 5 goals last time these sides met in the last round of last year, but to have 11 goals in 3. I saw one of those things a couple of weeks ago. They're always a bit sort of tiresome, these conversations about redrafts. How would you draft this if you were drafting this draft class again? And Max and Ben King were both at the top in the draft of a few years ago. How important is Max King to St Kilda's structure, and where does he sit, I suppose, in overall performers for key forwards?
I think he's high up on the list of key performers in the competition. clearly a star and a huge key forward that's so important to the Saints. They managed to get by earlier in the year without him, but you can just see he gives them a target to go to and a long direct target. And he marks the ball well, but if not, he brings the ball to ground. And I think we saw periods tonight when Max was off the ground. They probably struggled a little bit more going inside 50, and I think that's when the Swans defenders probably got a bit of a rest and a spell. But when he was out there, he was always someone to go through, and I think he does structure them up a lot more and gives them someone to confidently go inside 50 to at least bring the ball to the ground. And you think it's tough when you're playing a style like that as a forward where, it's not great ball movement, it's not coming in fast footy. It's almost the hardest position on the ground to be a forward, and he does it extremely well.
He's 22 years of age, so give the kid a break, and of all positions to play in the ground, that's by far the hardest. And he's by no means the strongest. He's got some great size. He's quite mobile for his size, and that's his biggest strength, his ability to move, and his stretch. We saw numerous times his ability to get up and launch at the ball. So he's played 62 games of AFL football, kicked 120 goals. So 23 he's kicked. So he's gonna improve. Clearly, he's got to get some more weight on his body, but he's also going to be aided by Tim Mimbry coming back in and some more key forwards that actually can kind of help him. If they do draft another key forward, it's going to take a lot of weight off him and give him more opportunities 1v1. We saw majority of times he was 1v1, he was able to win them. So and it's tough, like you said, in the way they're playing their football, St Kilda at the moment. But that'll change when they actually start getting some more personnel into the team itself. But he's a key focus for that team. They lose him. It's very hard for them to make the 8, and that's talking from here on in for the rest of the year. But you're popping up kicking your 3 goals. What's he kicked the last 3 weeks? 15, you say?
11.
11. So it's a key forward. It's doing his work.
How would you describe that first quarter?
Oh, God. I said it during the start of the game. I went and got a coffee, and I was wondering I was going to sleep tonight, but I'm glad I got it, because that first quarter of football was just so scrappy. Neither side came to play the game the right way early. And Sydney, we've been more disappointed because of the fact that they've played conditions like this a lot more, obviously, than St Kilda. And they didn't adapt it whatsoever. They didn't hit the scoreboard. Their inside 50s for both sets of teams really were very shallow, and which allowed the game to be played between 30 and 30 from both ends of the ground. And there was fumbles. Sydney tried to possess the ball too much, and it created more turnovers. The turnover number was nearly 80 at half time, which was enormous for both sets of teams.
Well, I think quarter time combined there was 26 inside 50, so 13 each, and we had 1 goal. That was it. Swans didn't even score from 13 inside 50s, so it was just the skill efficiency through that first quarter was horrible by hand and foot.
And maybe we're not giving big credit because it was dewy. It did rain in Sydney, and the dew on top of that, But you'd think that both sets of teams came to play a cleaner style of football and didn't adapt to the conditions by going, well, you know what, we can't do this. It's too wet and it's too greasy. We need to go straighter. And Sydney adapted in the second quarter, didn't continue on the scoreboard in the third.
To harp on the negative things, but the 50-minute penalties as well late in the game for the Swans, and how costly they were on the run home.
Oh, hugely costly. Hugely costly. Start of the last quarter was St Kilda was struggling to find a way to goal. They didn't look likely in kicking goals, and a couple of 50s. The Errol Goulden one looked like, he didn't come back off the mark. The umpire was calling him back. The way he responded to it's like he didn't hear the umpire calling him back. And the last one as well was Wangani Malera, I think, kicked the goal off another one, not standing the mark correctly. Hugely costly. Not giving up 2 goals that put him in front, and that was it. The Swans didn't get back in front of
the game. Was all momentum turns as far as who's getting goals, back-to-back goals and whatnot. So to have calls like that, and Sydney also gave up one late in the last quarter, in the third quarter, the end of the third quarter, and allowed St Kilda to come in only 6 points behind, which obviously then they were able to go to town as a coaching staff to try and fix a couple of things as a coaching group, which allowed St Kilda the momentum when they kicked the first 2 50s in the start of the last quarter. They were able to basically park the bus almost behind the ball, which that's what St Kilda had been focusing on over the past 2 weeks. During the break, so it suited them. The whole game style suited them
for sure. And they sure did park the bus. I think there was a stoppage here on the wing with about 2 minutes to go, and you were calling for the Swans to push numbers forward of the ball. And I counted up; they actually had 7 players ahead of the ball. St Kilda had 8 behind the ball. So every time the Swans pushed one around, St Kilda just pushed another one around. So they did really parked the bus with that lead late.
Probably a bigger story for Sydney for mine tonight, because of the fact I was myself coming to the game. If they win the game, they've flipped the ledger a bit, 6-on-6, and they'll start getting a couple more players back. And your Parker comes back into the field. A big loss obviously is an inside mid there, but you're also starting to look at getting some tolls back into the team. So this really hurts. I mean, they've got a tough game next week, and also their run home obviously is quite difficult.
It's interesting to talk about. With Parker going out, I thought that was the area they're probably going to hurt the most
the numbers
through the middle of the ground in clearance week. But they actually won clearance. So, Rowbottom probably stepped up in that regard for them. But, their ball movement, they really struggle with that. Apart from the second quarter when Florence started to get some run off half back, and he was hugely important through that period. But then it sort of dried up again.
And Braden Campbell was positive as well in that second half for Sydney.
Yeah, well, he took some terrific marks, and obviously his shots on goal. Tig, you mentioned as a half forward, he's been really important this year.
Final word from downstairs, Daniel Garb.
So I've managed to find out the exact issue with Nick Blakey. He did pass the head injury assessment, so he wasn't subbed out due to concussion. They say it's another reason. We suspect that ankle injury he copped in the first quarter, which did seem to trouble him at times as the game wore on, and once he was subbed, he was limping enormously. So that was clearly the reason why he was subbed out of the game. The head knock is not an issue, so that means he is available next week if he can recover, of course, from that ankle injury, and maybe that helps Dan Butler if he is cited for that tackle. So not concussion for Nick Blakey, the reason for his substitution, but probably that ankle problem.
Garby, thank you. Good job tonight, and we'll see you at the Giants next week.
Yep, looking forward to it. Thanks, boys.
Daniel Garb with us on the boundary tonight, and great work from him as always. So the Swans don't necessarily fall from 12th just yet, but of course there's still 8 games to go in round 13, and Tigers are breathing down their neck with their game against Freo on Saturday.
That is big news, that if Blake is not concussed. So this is one that is going to divide opinion, as they all have. So the record stands at the moment 2-18 from the 20 that have challenged at the tribunal. 18 have lost, 2 have won. The 2 most recently with Laird and Chera on this ground, by the way. And this is another classic case where... And we had Chad Wingard, who works for us, and obviously still playing with Hawthorn. He was on our show on Grandstand AFL Sunday last week. And he said at the start of the year, we got shown three examples. So they gave us 3 different tackles to look at and say, this is no good, this is no good, this is no good. Go out there and all the best for the season. And we have had 20 that the clubs have taken to the tribunal through the first 11 or 12 weeks of the season, where they're clearly confused. They're looking for some type of clarity. And I feel like tonight we might have seen a 21st example, where all the different ways you can tackle and what it means in a game. This is a bloke streaming away, about to pump it inside 50, a chase down tackle from behind. Guy's head hits the ground, didn't have an arm pinned, appeared to be, I guess, a driving motion under the way that they're ruling it at the moment. But again, it's a line ball one that half of us could sit here and watch and go, yeah, no, I think that fits the category, that's a reportable offence. And the rest of us will sit there and go, no, it's just an everyday tackle that happens in the game.
We just need to hear from the AFL and where they want to go with it. I think it would clear an awful lot up if we actually heard from the AFL and what it looks like. And the clubs would, certainly, and the players, but also us out here in the general public want to know what's the direction of the game as far as this tackle is concerned. It's a football act. This one was clearly a football act that he was going to actually tackle, and he released, didn't wrap him up and sling him to the ground, which you understand we want to take that out of a game. So that's part of it. We all get that and we all agree with the sling tackle. It's done. It's out of the game. But this one was a football act, and let's be very clear with what's acceptable and not acceptable in the game, because it's too hard to adjudicate and it's too hard for the players to play if you don't understand the rules of the game. What other sport do you play a game of football as a football, any sport, and you don't understand the rules as a player? That's not good enough as a football and a professional game that you're going out and you're going, well, I'm not sure if my livelihood, the rules are mixed up. It's not right on your footballers. It's not right on the players that are getting paid as a livelihood to go, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to miss a game next week and I'm going to miss some of my livelihood and not get paid.
You could argue Jordan Ngoe's bump was a football act 20 years ago.
That's right. I get where people are coming with the football act piece, but what do they want from the players?
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes it's hard because sometimes it's how do you control as a tackler? Correct me if I'm wrong, but like that tackle on Blakey from Butler, I don't know what he could have done differently to have a different outcome other than not tackle him at all.
Yeah, or wait till he gets closer.
But he's running
saying,
away.
I thought I had my head around it. I've got my little diagram. I'm like, is it a dump drive or sling? Is it this? Is it that? And I thought, I've got really good clarity after the Chera and Laird incidents. And I even thought, right, this is what you can and can't do. I don't know with that one.
I don't even know if it's a drive because Nick was going away from him. So was it Nick that was going away from him and he almost fell with him? No momentum's there with him. So I don't even know if it was a drive.
Just as far as just on St Kilda as well, just one last sort of word on them, and we addressed a couple of these players throughout the game, but you look at sort of the grand scheme of things where they're at in their development. So Philippo's 18, Owens 19, Windhagen 19, Wanganeen Miller are 20, Max King 22 as far as age, and they're all pretty instrumental in tonight's. So it's you can build something around that, can't you, if you're Ross Lyon?
Oh, for sure, and different areas of the ground too. Wanganeen Miller across half back. Owens certainly as a forward, he looks fantastic. He was terrific tonight. Windhager as a midfielder, they've got some great young talent, and King obviously forward, some great young talent, some smaller types, taller types. That's exciting future, those players.
And Battle and what he's done with Wood and moved Wood around up in the wing. He's got some big miles in his game. So clearly Ross understands that the cattle that he has and the game he wants him to play.
Who's doing our votes? I should have.
You can, Jason. I have no idea.
Right, you got a few minutes anyway.
That's all right.
Just on the cricket, because I don't usually read all these, but just someone just one more time. But this correspondent saying, "Come on, ABC, talking rubbish post game. All international cricket is on. Digital, no other alternative. There is an alternative." Anonymous texter, the ABC Listen app. Look for the cricket button and you can find uninterrupted ball-by-ball coverage of the World Test Championship and, of course, the Ashes, which start next week at Edgbaston. As it currently stands, Australia 7,430 midway through day 2 at the Oval in London. Alex Carey's on 27 and Pat Cummins is on 5. 2 wickets apiece for Mohammad Shami, Mohammad Siraj and Shardul Thakur. And Australia 7 for 430 midway through day 2. If you're listening to us through analog radio... through regional areas, in about 5 minutes' time, you'll get full coverage of the continued second session and throughout the rest of the day's play. Otherwise, I'll say it one more time, the ABC Listen app where you can find all of that ball-by-ball streaming right throughout the World Test Championship and the Ashes through the entire northern summer. Okay, the stats one more time here as far as best individuals. I'll start with the winners. St Kilda, of course, winners by 14 points tonight, 12-8-80 to 9-12-66. Brad Crouch had 33. Jack Sinclair had 32. Wanganeen Miller, we mentioned, he had 30, and Jack Steele finished with 24. 9 of them contested, and 7 tackles as well for Jack Steele. Meanwhile, for the Swans, Ollie Florent had 34. Again, the kicking efficiency or disposal efficiency for both sides left a lot to be desired. James Rowbottom at 24 disposals. Chad Warner had that same number as well as Justin McInerney, 23. Overall contested ball was plus 15. Sydney, inside 50s finished up 54 to 51 the Swans' way. Marks inside 50. Is that right? 7-5 across the entire game, St Kilda's way. So that was, in many ways, the story of the night. We saw, I think, no marks inside 50 for the whole first quarter, and just the one goal scored as well. But enough said about the first term, because it was a pretty exhilarating finish where the Saints saw it through to win by 14 points. Sato, who gets your 3-2-1 player of the year votes?
Yeah, 3-2-1. So the most influential players on the ground to get the result that we got. Your one vote, I give to Ollie Florent. I thought for the Swans, he was the most influential player, certainly in that second quarter, that allowed him to kick that 5-goal run to really give themselves an opportunity to win the game. It was Florent across half-back that was winning the footy. He finished with the 34 touches. I thought he had the most influence for the Swans, give him the one vote. 2 votes, Mitch Owens. As a forward for the Saints, he just seemed to be the most likely to mark the footy. He finished with the 8 marks, 21 possessions and 2 goals too. I thought he was fantastic in his game back from 2 weeks out with concussion or 1 week out. And best on ground, I'll give to Callum Wilkie across half back. He was just perfect in the way that he played that. Yes, he got to play loose a little bit. He also had to match up on Buddy, but he finished with 23 disposals, 8 marks, and he just controlled St Kilda across half-back, and I thought he couldn't have played his role any better, and was absolutely instrumental in the way St Kilda won the game.
I like the way he acknowledged the occasion as well, as far as Buddy Franklin's 350th, and Garvey asked about that, as far as being able to stand Lance Franklin in his 350th game, knowing that there was that record sort of coming as well, that 1,058th goal, which I suppose was probably a not as well known a milestone as far as the game's milestone is concerned, but what it meant to him to be able to have that and, take the limelight off Buddy for a moment.
Yeah, well, Callum Sinclair will be absolutely gutted with your vote when a ruckman gets 50 hit-outs and doesn't get a mention.
Well, that's the umpire throws it up for you there, and you're right there to hit it down.
The Wilkie story is unbelievable.
The umpire's making you get that possession. You don't have to go and earn it, do you?
Wilkie was 23 before he even got onto an AFL list. So he was playing for North Adelaide in the sample, picked up in the rookie draft. He's played every single game since making his debut. And just on Franklin as well. I mean, it feels like we've had some big buddy moments in the last couple of years. Clearly the 1,000 goals and the different milestones that he passes. But we should absolutely continue to celebrate every single one of them. I mean, it's going to be a long time until we see someone like him again, and the game would have to change a fair bit for it as well. But another sensational milestone tonight, 4th all-time on the goal kickers list, 350 games.
You can't say it enough about him,
the
way he's transcended football in this state. He's I'll take it to a fellow Irishman, he's like Bono. He is as big as Bono, what Bono's done for music and what Buddy Franklin has done for AFL in New South Wales. It's enormous.
You could argue that he's had 2 Hall of Fame careers. One at Hawthorn, he could have been a Hall of Famer when he finished, and now one again at Sydney. So basically put them together, and he's probably a legend, and I think we'd all probably agree that he'll easily get there one day in the Hall of Fame.
The Saints by 14 points tonight. Next up, the Swans are away against Brisbane on next Friday, in fact, to start as part of round 14. And then the Saints have got Richmond at the MCG on Saturday night next up as well. Thank you, Corby. You've got Bulldogs Port tomorrow night. See you then from 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock Eastern, under the roof at the Dome.
Thank you, Corby. Thank you, Jason Saddington.
Thank you, guys.
Ty Canelli, thank you very much.
Good to see you, Corby.
To Daniel Garb and to our tech, Tegan Nichols, to Ben Cameron back in the studio. For those listening through News Radio across New South Wales, back to regular programs for you, while the rest of us are heading off on ABC Sport Digital and throughout local radio in rural areas to the cricket. Day 2 of the World Test Championship at the Oval with our commentary team and our friends at the BBC. It's good night from us at the SCG. Time for the cricket.
And prepares to move in again. Past umpire Gaffney to bowl to Kerry. It's full. Kerry drives. Doesn't time it. There's a hint of an induct there from Mohammed Shami. So Kerry couldn't quite time it. And it rolled up to